Hello, ducklings. Welcome to our year in review. We're talking about what happened in Coronation Street in 2025.
And what we thought of it.
Yeah, and what we thought of it. I'm Gemma.
I'm Michael. And
this is Conversation Street, the
it
podcast
is, just in case
about
you didn't
Coronation
know what
Street.
you clicked on. It feels like this is the latest we've ever done a year in review, so very sorry for anyone who's been waiting patiently
we have to
for
think
this.
about it.
Well, you know what, I did it. I'm blaming Corrie, I'm blaming Daniel Brocklebank. We haven't had the time recently, have we, to slot it in for a week, but we're here now. And it was just here to spend a couple of hours just having final musing thoughts about what happened in the past 12 months, which was really Kate Brooks' first year as producer, wasn't it? Her first full year. Yeah. So it's an annual performance review. First of how many? I don't know.
Good question.
But I wonder how she feels. 2025 went for her.
Probably like a bus hitter, I would imagine, because I don't know. It feels like every year that goes by, there's more scrutiny, there's more dissent in the ranks. And I mean, do you feel responsible for some of it?
Only some of it. I mean, I tell it like it is. Usually, I don't know. It feels like in the press in the past year, there's been fewer Korean crisis articles than there were in 2024. That was just month after month, there was something, wasn't there, in one paper or the other saying Corrie's awful, Corrie's going down the pan. It's like,
when's it going to be cancelled?
Yeah, once Ian McLeod announced his moving on, kind of, from Coronation Street, it's like it was the gates are open for people to start publicly denouncing Coronation Street. And I don't feel like we had quite as much of that. Is it because the show's in a better state? Or is it because, possibly worse, apathy?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think maybe apathy about hearing stories about how dire Coronation Street is, because they're boring. If you don't watch it, you don't care.
Yeah. I mean, I think among the fans, there's still a bit of a feeling. I mean, I've read lots of criticism of Kate Brooks' tenure online. Lots of people aren't happy with it. But equally, there's been other things that people have really enjoyed. And I think I am somewhere in the middle. I'm being a bit of a fence sitter on this. There were definitely parts of 2025 I really quite enjoyed. And there are other times where I was thinking, what on earth is going on here? Or this is just a little on the dull side. So I think this is going to be an episode of mixed opinions from the pair of us, going over some of the big stories and characters and whatnot of the year. I mean, I suppose what a lot of people were hoping for when Kate took over was, a big revolution, a big, here I am, new guard, refresh everything, listening to the fans, things that they don't like, we'll get rid of, bunker down on things that they do like.
It reminds me of when we get a new government. Except nobody voted for Kate Brooks. Like we're going, oh well, she should change it the way I want it to be changed. And the trouble is, Ian McLeod is still, I guess, in charge.
Well, yeah, it was.
He was creative director of Corrie.
Yes,
he is the executive producer for continuing drama.
Yeah, this was announced really early on in 2025, wasn't it? Like within the first week of last year, it was announced that although it seemed like he was moving on, actually he's staying there pulling the strings quite hard. And I've got no idea what level of autonomy Kate has got over some of the decisions, all of the decisions, decisions that are made. Obviously she must have some. He's not going to be there checking and saying, before you hand your work in, let me just have a look at it.
It's worth saying that Kate Brooks, Ian McLeod was a producer at Coronation Street with no executive producer because Kieran Roberts left and there was no replacement. No. So it's not new that there's an executive producer that oversees Emmerdale and Coronation Street, but Ian McLeod didn't have that.
Well, Kieran Roberts was only Coronation Street, wasn't he?
Right.
So this is a new position looking over the two soaps. So he is literally straddling the Pennines and saying, a little bit in this and a little bit in that. So Kate has still got, she has got some autonomy.
But also, it's not like he can do whatever he wants. With anything. He is still working for ITV Studios, I guess.
Yeah.
And as we've learned recently, ITV Studios and ITV The Channel are two different things. And what pressure has been given from either of those two entities to soaps, I really, really suspect and pin everything on some kind of nefarious puppeteer who actually hates soaps, because that's the only thing that really makes sense to me. Is somebody doesn't understand what soaps are and thinks that you can just survey your way out of reducing.
I think it's because they're so expensive compared to the relative cheapness of unscripted reality TV, Love Island, Big Brother, Fly on the Wall,
is Essex or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Coronation Street, yes, it brings in the money. It's still one of the most top performing programmes in the country. Regularly, it's still sitting above the other two soaps, although still that gap is closing. Mm-hmm. Coronation Street has been going down still, so have the others. I mean, I think Emmerdale's quite close. I've not looked at it properly.
I think the gap closed quite a lot during Corriedale.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, that was interesting because they were touting, not that we're talking about 2026, but they were touting the amazing figures that Corriedale pulled in, and it was still like, it wasn't loads more, I thought, than the soaps usually get.
Hang on, it was an extra hour of programming, and how much does that cost? How much does that get? What do they get back from that? I don't know.
So I think basically Corrie is in a real bind in terms of people might want to do things and they can't because they got a boss or somebody holding the purse string saying, no, you can't do that. And so some of it is making do with the best situation you've got, I suppose. But equally, you can't just say when everything you don't like, it's not their fault. Ultimately, the buck does stop to some extent at Kate Brooks. And I think some of the...
Andy and
McLeod, yeah. But I mean, Kate is the one that's ultimately is the one that answers to the complaints, the critique of the fans.
Who answers to who?
Yeah, no, I know, but she is the face of the show at the moment. He's not, and I think, some of the things that she's clearly feels passionate about and things that are important for the show, some people agree with, others not. And I think she has wanted to try and put her mark on the street, but overall what we got in 2025 was largely a continuation of the feel of Coronation Street in 2024. It didn't feel like a whole, as extreme example, Brian Park coming in, swinging the axe, and then 1997 Coronation Street was a totally different beast than the somewhat bore fest of 1996.
I think that there is a stark contrast in how Coronation Street has been before and since. And I would say one of the biggest things is the special episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of thinking, like, if I could summarise 2025 Coronation Street, like, what were the three biggest things, when I think 2025 in Corrie, this is what comes to mind, and special episodes is definitely one of them. I would probably also say Swarla, of course, being, quite the talking point of the past 12 months, and also exits. Because there was a whole lot of people that left Coronation Street. And this time last year, that was when all the news was coming out, wasn't it? That all these people are leaving. And I suppose there was a bit of Corrie crisis there, but it did die down somewhat once the last of the major exits were announced, which wasn't too long after now. But so...
After now?
I'm sorry, this time of the year. But yeah, I agree. Special episodes is definitely her mark. And maybe it is quite striking compared to... I can't remember what it was like when we switched from Collinson to Blackburn, when we switched from Blackburn to... who came after it? That was Ian McLeod, wasn't it?
What about Kate?
Oh, Kate Oates. How could I forget Kate Oates? The lovely Kate Oates.
Kate Oates feels like her era was gritty, drama, and issues, like really pushing the issues.
Yes, I agree.
Also making herself part of the Coronation Street story and being in front of the cameras and going on television and saying, I've done this and I've done that. And
New Kate hasn't done that half as much, has she, as far as I know.
I mean, I feel like I would be more of a Kate Brooks, a bit, I don't want to put myself in the spotlight.
Well, the role of a producer isn't to be a
spokesperson.
No, it's
but
a bit like...
It can be.
It can be. It's like, my other passion, Nintendo. You got the one of the past Nintendo of America presidents, Reggie Fils-Aimé. He was all there in front of the camera. Like, you knew who he was. He didn't need to. He was just president. He was a man in a suit. But he put himself out there so the fans knew who he was. And then his successor, barely heard from him. You don't know what he was like. So I think it's an added bonus if the producer is out there and you kind of get to know them, kind of. You don't need to know, but it's kind of nice in a way for the fans to know a little bit more about what makes the producer tick. And I think that, Kate Brooks, she's done a few interviews at the Corrie Press Day. I don't know whether she's ever been on TV.
Maybe she thinks that her work speaks for itself.
Yeah,
there's
quite
no
possibly.
wrong way of doing this.
No, there's not at all.
There's no wrong way of doing it. I think Corrie doesn't really have a spokesperson unless it's going to be the producer. But I will also say that before Kate Oates came along, I don't really remember I don't know what any of them looked like. I couldn't tell you.
I'm sure you remember Stuart Blackburn's hat.
I remember he had a hat, so I don't remember anything other than that. But I barely know what Ian McLeod looks like. I know what Kate Brooks looks like because I've met her.
Yeah.
So I think that Kate Oates was a bit of an anomaly.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, and I don't want anyone to think I'm criticising Kate Brooks for not appearing on television and talking about stuff, because I'm not at all. I'm just noting it as a difference.
Mm-hmm. So when she came in, there were some of the talking points that people were saying, I hope that this gets addressed. Yeah. I'm a bit fed up of this. Maybe it's worth kind of looking and saying, so did she? Did she not? I mean, it's been a very long time now that people have been saying too many police and hospital scenes on Coronation Street. We were definitely saying it this time last year and a year and a half ago. It's no longer, if somebody says, I feel like I'm watching The Bill, it's like, all right. You're not the first person to have said that.
We all think the same.
We can't say that there's been any change for the better there, can we?
Well, didn't that Reddit post say that the hospital was...
It was
very much...
Yeah, there was this great post on Reddit a couple of weeks ago where people had tracked every location that had been used on the show in 2025. And I think, was it the police? I thought it was the hospital that was in the top 5. I can't remember.
I think that's what I just said.
Oh, did you? Oh, sorry, I thought you said police station. Yeah, but equally, the Rovers was also there as well. So on the flip side, people had been saying, where's the Rovers? Not enough Rovers. We want more life in the Rovers. And I'm going to kind of tentatively say things are looking up there, and they have done. There's been this gradual improvement over the past year, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that one thing you've got to remember as well is that they must have known that they were going to get a new family in the Rovers once they knew that Sally Ann Matthews was leaving, and that they decided obviously that they needed to transition between the old and the new. They would have realised that they had to introduce this family and that the set would be used a lot, and they'd have to gear the stories up to heavily feature them at the end of the year and that set. What do you do when you know that? It feels like they just went, okay, we'll just disengage with the Rovers and not really make a big deal. Like it felt as though the Rovers was heading for a reckoning since the brewery started meddling, and then Daisy and Jenny stole Stephen's money, and then the whole lot of them got kicked out. All of that felt like would have really logically led into Jenny not being in the Rovers anymore and a new family coming.
Yeah.
But it felt like it all had to go in the fridge.
Well, exactly.
To stop it melting.
Throughout 2024, we saw very little of that. That what we were expecting as the grand rebirth of the Rovers never really happened. It was a bit of a flub. Jenny and Daisy at each other's throats never really happened. The money stealing was just quietly pushed underneath the carpet. But it came back this year, and fair play to them. They could have just kind of hand-waved it away, but they did, as part of Jenny and Daisy's leaving story, revisit that stolen money.
It just felt very clumsy and chaotic, and
it did, but at least
not planned as a transition.
Who knows what the original plan for that was, because it was a year and a half roughly between the Rovers originally closing, Henry being in it, and then eventually coming up again. I think it was a year and a half, and I think it must have been a case of we'll deal with that when they get there. It was nice that we got Christina back involved in it.
Having Glenda be the manager was just absolutely glorious.
That was a real golden period over summer, wasn't it? Having Glenda there, I mean, would she make a good landlady? I don't know, but as a temporary manager, tell you what, she kicked Billy Walker out of the water, and whoever else has taken on that mantle. I don't know about what's her face? Maureen Lipman's first of all, Lillian Spencer. That was pretty good. But yeah, Glenda there, all singing, all dancing, karaoke, drag night. That was class. I really, really enjoyed that. And maybe just having a short stint of it was all it needed before it had a chance to grow stale.
Yeah. I mean, moving away from talking about the Rovers, another thing I think that's been a hallmark of recent Corrie that I feel deserves criticism, that I felt came in under Ian McLeod and hasn't changed since Kate Brooks took over, that is new characters coming in the show and then being the main character for a year and then not being in it anymore. And then leaving.
You know, this year, it's been a big year for Carl. Last year, this year was in 2025, it's been a big year for Carl. Previous year, Kit was all over the place. Lisa as the new
Lauren,
in inverted commas.
Joel, Dee Dee.
Dee Dee's gone. I mean, that kind of shows that, you know, sometimes if you work them too hard, maybe they want to get out.
Lisa, Betsy.
Yeah.
You know, these all characters, and some of them are incredibly popular, but equally not somebody that you would know who they were if you were flicking through channels and you hadn't watched Corrie for a year. You'd wonder what the hell was going on.
Yeah. I mean, but on the flip side, you know, we also did get Kevin in the top, in the top 10 characters this year. Debbie, obviously. I mean, new-ish, but not really. I don't know how recognisable she'd be to... But at least, you know, it was good that we had Debbie, because we as a fandom all adore Debbie. Do
you reckon was it she pre or post COVID?
I think it was 2019 she came back into it.
6 years.
Yeah, but I think she came in for a little stint and then came back for a little stint after a year maybe. So it was, mid-COVID. But I know what you mean. It feels like characters come in, they have their thing, give it a shake about a bit, and off they go.
Yeah,
because I can't see
about that.
Yeah, I can't see Carl and Theo lasting that much longer, to be honest.
I feel cynical because it feels like they're just getting people in who they don't pay as much, and I feel it's really mean to say that, because I think they deserve to be paid the same as the other
William Roach,
especially when they're shouldering huge storylines and they're getting chucked into intense scrutiny, not just because they're a new character, but because they're in it so much, they're so frequently in the show. And they're also normally involved in quite controversial storylines. Yeah. You know, like Lauren's kidnapping and possible murder. That was huge. You had Dee Dee with her the treatment of black mothers in hospital. Very controversial storyline. You've got Lisa, who is one half of the biggest and I would say also controversial storyline with Carla being in a relationship with a woman, which obviously caused a lot of discussion online, a lot of it negative. These actors are coming in and they're kind of having everything chucked at them.
It does feel still like a lot of the old guard we're just not really seeing enough.
Where's Maria? Where's Gary? What
did Maria and Gary get up to this year? Gary got clonked over the head by Lou, spent a few weeks in hospital as a mystery patient, as a bit of a John Doe, and nothing since. Maria, again, next to nothing. Leanne and Toya, granted, they were right up there in the top 10 in 2024, weren't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, they were, I think out of all the kind of main characters that you might expect you would feature somewhat heavily in a year, I think that they had some of the lowest episode counts at all. In fact, I think I've got it down here. I'm just having a quick scroll through my notes somewhere. Where are they? So Toya... No, I've lost it. I'll find it later when we get there. Oh no, Toya got 68 appearances in the year, which is nothing, and Leanne 66. It was nothing. And Nick, he got only 75.
Hang on a minute. Go back.
This is compared to the top performers that had nearly 200.
So again, this is not a criticism of these characters. This is a criticism of Coronation Street using these characters so heavily part of the allure of the show is that it's got 65 years of history, and some of these characters who are older have had, you know, generations of their family on the street. So the top 10 characters, Lisa and Kit were in there, along with Theo and Carl.
And even George, somewhat of a newbie, isn't he?
And even the old, you know, the old guard, You've got Abby in there, who's kind of new, and also Debbie.
Yeah. So really, out of the proper old guard, you got Kevin, you got Todd, Carla, yeah, of course,
Kevin,
yeah. And then that's kind of it. And even Todd is, new Todd, isn't he? So
yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with these characters. Like I keep saying, I don't want anyone to take this as a criticism of these characters.
No.
Because they've come in and they've really been engaging and had fantastic storylines, and they're all brilliant performers. It just is very notable that it happens. It's happened year on year, probably since 2020 or before, where you wouldn't even know the name of some of the top 5.
Yeah. Corrie does need to
who's going to
rely on its history a bit more. Come on, more Sally.
Who's going to be in the top 5 at the top 10 this time next year when we look back at 2026? Will there be several names in there that we've not heard of? I mean, Jodie looks like possibly turning into a very major character for 2026.
Already, she's got that feel about her, hasn't she? That we could be saying an awful lot of Jodie
and
this year.
And Alice.
Oh yeah,
lovely bearded Alice.
Okay, so that was something we were saying that you were not too happy about that last year. Going back to things that possibly work better, I think it's hard. Minimal improvements, but some improvements in the way of friendships and having kind of trying to cement that kind of thing. We had scenes like everybody round at Kevin's. There were a few scenes with the dartboards. There were a few scenes of
poker
chums
night.
having a chat in the Rovers. Yeah, the poker night. Obviously, the stuff with everything that happened in the Rovers in the summer with the drag night and whatnot was friends getting together.
I mean, there's been way more scenes which is compared to none, where you'll have a bunch of characters in the Rovers and the story will move from one group to another. Yeah. That stopped completely during COVID, understandably, but it's only just come back in this last year where you'll hear Mary and Brian talking about something, and then we'll move, and the people will be behind them who then start talking.
Yeah.
And I get it must be very tedious and boring, and I'm sure they all hate doing it because you have to sit in the background of someone's scene and you have to be in all day doing something you're not necessarily even the main character of, but it's so essential for building that community feel for Coronation Street.
Yeah. I think another hallmark of recent years in Coronation Street and budget cuts is obviously the location shoots or lack thereof, and I can't say that there was that much of an improvement in the last year. Honestly, they must have gone on location about.
You think?
I think it is. I would be very surprised if there were more than 10 episodes.
More than 3.
10 episodes in the year that had locations.
No. Yeah, but you had
really
loads of.
So.
You had loads of entries for your.
What, for the Getaway Awards?
Well,
we had 5, and then there was a few others. Honestly, I don't think there was very much more than that. I think you could literally count on 2 hands the number of location shoots last year. But there's money in it.
Is that you recognise the locations personally, and so you don't really count when they go to the Teenage Wasteland.
Yeah, no, I don't really count.
And don't forget that
anything just about outside,
Don't forget, there must have been loads of times when you watch Corrie back in the day and they were in, is it Great John St. John's Gardens?
Yeah.
And you didn't know that was literally there, up the road. You have to cross one road.
I know. But...
And you wouldn't have known that at the time or cared, but now you do.
Yeah, but there was still a whole you can't deny how much more there was. I would mostly in the old Corries, a week wouldn't go by without some kind of location shoot somewhere, just walking down a road somewhere, or all the Better Buys, Fresh Goes bits. And
yeah, I would love to know what the location budget was and how it's different now, but equally whether that's counterbalanced because now they've got a much bigger venue. And
we've still seen a lot of precincts, haven't we?
Does it cost more? Did they have to, how much did it cost to develop the extra, Victoria Gardens and like you said, the precinct and all that, and renting the site? Is it way more expensive? I'm really interested to know. And also the other thing is that now they're in Media City, it's not that easy to get into central Manchester. They'd have to load up into a bus or,
Yeah, but they do.
I know, but listen to what I'm saying. Back when they were in Quay Street, they were there. You go outside and there is Manchester.
But I still say they went farther afield. I don't know. I mean, I almost don't think there's any point in arguing about the location.
I'm not really
shoots.
arguing with you.
I know. It's clearly a decision that has to be made. I'm sure it's not one that it's like, oh, we can't be bothered, or too much hassle, or we don't really need it. I think they are very much constrained, and they say this is how many times you can go out on location.
They've got budgets.
They've probably blown this year's already on Corriedale.
They've got budgets and they have to stick to them. But how much are they allowed to allocate?
I do wonder. It's like, they must have budgets for new sets every year. And it's like, how many new places can they have?
They build massive sets for something that you only ever see once.
Yeah, they can do.
And think about that, the blooming volume wall. That was surely very expensive.
I thought they were just renting that. I don't know.
Yeah, they were renting it, but it cost £1 million to buy it.
They're making, I suppose, some
to rent it.
Clever use of the Coronation Street experience bit of the building, aren't they? Like, even, not 2025, but Corriedale, Debbie's wedding, they had a few toilet scenes there.
Yeah, they did.
They had, they've been in the cafe there. They've had various rooms upstairs they've used as offices for this and that over the years.
I wonder if there would ever be a hilarious meta weird dream where one of them walked through the Corrie experience viewing things about their life. Like, what's happening?
Speaking of weird, dreamy, experiencey kind of things,
exactly.
I think that the other choice and style that people were hoping might peter out when we had a new producer in was all of the filmic, shall we call it? Special effects, dreams, ghosts coming back, flashbacks. But I'm going to say that, Kate has doubled down on those, hasn't she? Particularly the non-linear storytelling.
Well, there wasn't any of that.
I don't know. I would say that wasn't even an Ian McLeod thing particularly, was it?
Imran's death week started with a flash forward.
It did, but it was very few and far between. It's not like, we're getting them every week or anything at the moment, but the fact that we've had in the past year, we've had 2 episodes dedicated to flashbacks with the Kit and Mick one and Maggie's, although that was a bit of a something and nothing, wasn't it? But various ways. And some of it's worked and some of it hasn't. I mean, Nathan's death was amazing at the beginning of 2025.
Yeah, the flashbacks was a device that had never been used in Coronation Street, and it got used twice. Yeah,
but other ways of playing with time, I think. Yeah.
I like that.
I think I've kind of got used to it. I think if you were to have asked me 5 years ago, what would you think if they did that? I would have just said, no, it's not Corrie. But I would say there were more things that I would want to change at the moment about the show than their slight over-reliance of non-linear storytelling.
More as well, not just about the camera becoming a POV shot of people to make us realise that they are drunk or sad or about to die or in a bush or whatever. We've also got the music being used way more, and it's happened over the last few months.
Yeah, not way more, but more.
It's infuriating. I hate it.
Just like background, incidental, non-diegetic music.
Just playing over the top to make you go, oh, I know what I'm supposed to feel now. Thank you for telling me. I wouldn't have known. Like, Corriedale Week, I know this is 2026, but that was dreadful. And it's happening even more. And it's not like it wasn't.
I didn't mind it for Corriedale Week because I felt it was a special week.
But I knew that they would carry on doing it, though.
But I'm still not too worried that it's becoming a regular thing.
It must cost money to do it. Sometimes you watch, and it was quite funny seeing this, Maggie's flashback episode. They had some music that they were playing in the Rovers, and they clearly didn't get the rights for playing it on the YouTube channel, because there's this really awkward moment where she gathers her boys around her for a bop in the Rovers, and they just shuffle awkwardly
to nothing.
I think they played something, but it wasn't the original song. So they're paying for rights of these songs to play on ITV.
Some of it's not just songs, is it? It's just like atmospheric. Yeah, here's a baddie kind of music. This person get a bad news.
Emmerdale, the one thing I thought, I don't like to criticise other soaps too much because it's that they're different for a reason. Everyone has what they prefer. But the one thing I really don't like about Emmerdale is their incidental music use, because it feels really juvenile. I'm sorry, but it does. And then when it started to creep into Coronation Street and it's becoming more and more used, and I just think it's such a bad road to go down.
Yeah, it doesn't need it. That was one thing that separated British soaps away from Aussie soaps and American soaps.
Well, even separated British soaps from British drama.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't take me out of it when I'm watching, Sarah Lancashire investigate another horrible crime in Yorkshire, to hear some kind of scary music because she runs down an alleyway about to get bopped on the head. It doesn't take me out of it because I know there's no precedent. Whereas Coronation Street has precedent of like many, 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 many years of not doing that.
Yeah. It feels like we're being completely negative, and I don't want that to drive this year, the discussion on this year, because there was lots that I want to talk about and celebrate from this past year. But
go on. Well, I mean, we were all very.
It's getting awards still. I mean, in an inside soap at least. Why would you
use that tone?
What do you mean?
If you're trying to be positive, you go, "Oh, it's getting awards."
Okay,
I
get it. It's getting awards, but equally, the British Soap Awards. What a bomb that was! The only award that Corrie picked up was David Nielsen's Outstanding Achievement Award. So he didn't even have any competition, unless you count all the other golden oldies in soaps. But that was an utter washout. But from what I gather from reading a little bit about other soaps, EastEnders, the shine has certainly come off its crown somewhat. At least just from the days of the Six a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And I think, maybe Corrie will do better this year, but you don't want to do better just because another soap isn't doing quite as well.
That's very true.
And that still is getting a lot of praise for like the Nigel storyline. But yeah, you want Corrie to be up there getting the awards for being great for the big storylines. And I don't know, if I look back at 2025, I don't know, it doesn't feel like there is as big a overarching storyline as the year that makes me think, that was the main story of 2025, especially if you compare to, say, the previous year when it was Paul's MND. I mean, what would you say was the big story of the year? Does anything stand out to you?
Swarla's dominated the discussion. Debbie's dementia and Kevin and Abby's affair. Well, Abby and Carl's affair, and the new family in the Rovers, but that was only in October.
Yeah,
What
I
else?
suppose the Swarla thing isn't so much a story, even though it won the best storyline of the year in the Conversation Street Awards. What is the story there? But maybe it doesn't need to have maybe it's just because I'm thinking, well, that's not an issue. And that's what gets the award so much. But yeah, maybe it was that. I suppose the Theo and Todd, there was affairs going on. It'll be interesting to see what gets picked up on in the awards in the first half of this year.
This can make you quite vulnerable in the soap awards if you have spread your eggs into many baskets and they've all put theirs into one.
Yeah.
And so the public doesn't really remember, or it's not as impactful because your focus was split over like 3 massive storylines instead of one, gigantic one.
Yeah, but it just, to me, doesn't feel like anything was absolutely massive.
Well, the Swarla stuff went all the way back to Mason's death, really, because they were investigating Becky. And that was, Lisa was on the case all the way back there, and it just kind of has been buried under lots of confusion and uncertainty, and now just utter.
I mean, do you want to move over and just kind of segue into talking about Swarla for a little bit and how we're feeling about how that went for 2025? I was at the beginning of the year. It was very clear that they were going to dominate the show, the discussion, in some corners of the internet at least, because yes, they're popular, but they're not as overwhelmingly popular and beloved by everyone as some people might have you believe, are they? They've got a bunch of very hardcore, passionate fans. And actually, I as the year's gone on and we've got to know some of them a little bit better, I really do respect them for some of the depth of their discussion about this story, because the amount that people talk about Swarla, I don't know whether we've ever dissected any Coronation Street story quite as much as they do. But on the other hand, there are also some Swarla fans who take it too far, and people are there. There's been stuff among the Twitter this past week about people making death threats for other people not agreeing with whatever they happen to think about Swarla, and that's when that kind of discourse can really sour you, if you sour some people on a fandom, even on a storyline, and sometimes I think not everybody adores the Swarla relationship, not everyone loves their story, and sometimes the fans of a story can inadvertently have a negative effect on people's opinions on the characters and the stories, don't you think?
Some people will definitely not like something because other people say it's good.
But it's not just them saying it's good, it's intensely saying it's good. And, we can't criticise anybody for being intense about anything to do with Coronation Street, considering all the chat that we get out of it every week. But
I mean, there's an incredible depth of feeling and a lot of very justifiable emotions that are tied up with this storyline, and it feels as though it's really come to a head where lots and lots of Swarla fans are not happy with certain very big decisions that have been made, and I really saw, it really felt like they were very united on Lisa and Carla at the beginning of this time last year, and now it feels as though it's fractioned. And
there's a lot of infighting, it feels like, going
it's also, it feels like more obvious that there are Swarla, there are Lisa fans and there are Carla fans, and now they've broken up, they're all kind of fighting with each other, and it's really sad to see people getting mad at each other. But
it is good that there are some passionate fans, because Corrie wants people talking about it, and I think they have driven a lot of the discussion in the fandom about Coronation Street, haven't they? And also, I think a lot of Coronation Street's awards that they have won have been related to Best Couple and Best Actress, Best Performance. A lot of that has been down to Vicky and Ali. So without Swarla, Corrie would be even more in the doldrums in terms of public recognition.
I know, but I think a lot of the fans are new fans, and they're a bit disillusioned because the way the story is being told is not what they had come to expect, because it is a soap and it's an ensemble story about many, many people, and I'm not surprised at all about what's happened with Becky and what's happened with Carla and Lisa, because I've seen it happen a million times with other people on the show, whereas some Swarla fans, even people that have been watching the show for a long time, thought that this story would be different because it is so meaningful and important to them, and also because of what they've assumed that Coronation Street feels about it. Through whatever reason why they've decided that. Some of it's to do with commentary from people on the show, some of it's to do with things that they've inferred from the the status of people on the show, or how the story's being told, and the fact that it's the first female, two women buying a house together on the street, a gay women couple, possibly the first successful
lesbian marriage,
wedding on Coronation Street.
Wedding.
It feels like it should be handled in a slightly different way.
Some people have been saying about representation and how important it is to them, because of it being representing a minority group, and obviously representing their own experiences, I suppose. But I don't know. I don't think just because they are a lesbian couple, I don't think that means they have to be shown to have a perfect life. They don't have to, no adversities, strong through it all, because nobody on a soap is. So you're right. I think we all know that. I think that it's clear that they're gonna get back together and stay together. But to have no bumps in the road at all,
you won't be in the show if you don't have any.
No, and I'd rather the characters and the plot came first over representation. It's a bit like the issues, isn't it? Should Corrie be about issues or story? People say story, so...
Yeah, but media and fiction has been about people like you for centuries. I'm not being rude to you. I'm just pointing it out. Like, you've not been starved of representation.
I know. I am the token white male of this podcast.
If you want to read a story about yourself, there are millions of them, and there's probably a story about somebody exactly like you. Whereas if you're a woman who wants to have representation on the screen about somebody like you, you don't have very many options, and the ones that you do see are often very tragic and quite problematic.
I get it.
And not written by people like you. You know, like, how many stories are written by gay women for gay women who are on mainstream television? And then when you get something special like that, and it's really different when when it feels like it's representing you. And I don't know, I am not in this situation. I can only empathise with, for example, I'm not going to say specifically because I don't want to I don't want to get too personal, but a story that very, very, very much mirrored something that was happening in our lives, happened on Coronation Street not that long ago. And I was infuriated because it was just handled so really poorly. And it would have annoyed me anyway, but because it was something that felt personal, I was even more upset. And I didn't understand why bother doing it if you're going to mess it up and make it so unlike reality.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, it kind of feels insulting. And I know people have taken some of this quite personally.
They have, and I think one of the other reasons why people have taken umbrage with where the Swarla story went, especially in the second half of the year, is because it's really stretched credulity and reality, with Becky coming back from the dead, as it were, and lots of secrets and unanswered questions, and we just having to really stretch the boundaries of how much can we believe would actually happen.
But it's like something fantastical has to happen in every story, no matter how grounded it is. So this was such a fantastical element of what could have been a very simple sectory. The same that's kind of happening with Debbie's dementia, where you've got this guy who's on the run from the German mafia, shacking up with his, and he's secretly his mum, and he didn't really, Could it have been a story about a woman struggling with dementia, just that? Could Paul's M&D story just have been that, and not had people with secret laptops selling and...
I will still say that out of all the Swarla stuff that's happened this year, the part of the story that I've been engaged with the most has been the Becky element of it, and I know that there's not going to be many people that agree with me on that, but I am comparing it to Rob on the run and flipping over banisters and armed sieges in Coronation Street with this character that was great when we heard that he was coming back, but they had turned him into a bit of more of a wrong and a less layered character than he had been before. But I often do like the soapy, but I know that's a really bad word to use to describe it, but when it all gets a little bit melodramatic, so I've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed the chaos that Becky's brought from the street. I've known that Carla and Lisa would get back together again, not that we were told.
I was going to say, I don't think that you're that invested.
I don't think
it wasn't like you were going to watch it and go, well, I can only enjoy this if Becky doesn't ruin them forever. No,
I'm not as invested in Carla and Lisa as many others seem
and that's
to
fine,
be, but I like them.
But we're not a couple, are we? We're not. I don't watch Coronation Street for the romances and the relationships. I find them quite boring.
I don't always. I mean, when Imran slept with Abby, I was quite outraged at that. When he was still going out with Toya. When Shona slept with Kit, I was mad, and I'm trying to put myself in the position, if all of this had happened to David and Shona, would I have been more outraged by it? Yeah, quite possibly. But I enjoyed. I know it could be, couldn't it, with old Jodie? But I enjoyed liking that element of the Swarla story. Just for the silly, cheeky impishness of Becky, and again, knowing it was going to be a temporary thing, they were going to get back. Although, I definitely think that the Swarla relationship, they'll probably will paper over it, it will be back to normal. But in real life, it's something so huge has happened here. It's never going to go back to being as perfect, for lack of a better word, as it was before. Because
Carla was kept hostage in a cupboard and then left to die in a shipping container.
While Lisa was
Well, it doesn't even
away.
matter what Lisa was doing. Nobody is she didn't even go to hospital for any length of time. So they went, yeah, check your kidney, it's fine.
I know.
Did you know you've got 3?
It was ridiculous. But I don't know.
She got 4 now. She got 4,
I don't know how many kidneys she's got stuffed in there. Would you say on the whole you enjoyed the Swarla stuff this year, or did you have a favourite bit? We had the moving house part, we had the kidney drama, we had the hostage, we had the Becky bit.
I think I enjoyed the chaos of Becky coming back. I'm not going to deny it. I love villains are my favourite part of soaps, and
I think that does make a big difference to us. We do like a villain.
Yeah, I think some people just hate them.
Apart from Carl, bloody hate him.
Yeah, I like Carl as well. But I think I couldn't properly enjoy it because I saw this coming a mile away, that there would be no satisfactory answers to anything and no real examination of any kind of... Becky didn't even find out that Betsy used the money she left her to buy a kidney for Carla. That would have been hilarious to have seen that play out and have Becky find out, and there was just no time for any of it, even though it felt like we had the same scene about 1 million times of Carla saying, Lisa, could you get rid of this woman? And Becky coming in going, oh, your doorbell doesn't work. We had that scene about 5 times.
I know.
There's no answer to any of it. There were so many... They crafted this really meticulous beginning of a story, and then they just went, no, it's none of your business what happened at the end. She's in prison.
She's in prison now. Off she goes. But I mean, there is still the speculation that she's going to die in prison. Obviously, Lisa and Carla need to get married at some point this year. That's going to be easier if Becky is dead.
I don't know. I like Becky. I think
I really liked Becky.
I think there's still so much potential.
Sorry. I'm not sorry.
I just wanted a proper reckoning,
Yeah.
I wanted them all to sit down, and I wanted to, maybe if we still had what's his face, who does the chat show, he got in trouble. They all did, didn't they?
Who are you talking about?
The angry British guy, the English one, who just lecture people.
I don't know who you mean.
Well, the chat shows where they go, oh, my wife came back from the dead. And
Jeremy Kyle.
If we had Jeremy Kyle still on the case, we'd have this sorted out and we'd all know, we'd know everything. Yeah,
no, true, you're right. I think whatever the case, the wedding's going to happen. It's going to be fine. Lisa's character has taken a massive, massive knock. So I'm interested to see if they try and go back to how things were, or whether we just assume, because I can see a Swarla drought happening at some point this year.
It will do.
It's been 24 months now of Lisa, Carla. Characters don't stay the A characters for that long.
No.
So it wouldn't surprise me if they tie it all up nicely, get married, and then they
predict
just settle down for a little while and we don't see much of them.
I would say a very quiet couple of years ahead, to be honest with you, and I don't know if people are going to be shocked by that, and I think
could be wrong.
I think the other thing is that Coronation Street needs to prove that it can do stuff and not just use this fan base to bolster its popularity online, which I think a lot of people are kind of saying. I think that's quite a cynical thing to say. I think I'd say the same thing. I do think they're using Swarla to they know that it's going to be massive. They saw what happened with Vanity. They saw Rob Ron. They wanted something like that for Corrie. They picked 2 really fantastic characters to do it. 2 brilliant performers. They've thrown everything at them, and it's not really out of the blue that I said Jeremy Kyle, because they took something that was very serious and natural and real, and they turned it into a Jeremy Kyle show at the end.
Yeah.
Everything got very out of hand.
Let's move away from Swarla a little bit. Do you want to stick with some of the stories or some off screen stuff? Because it feels like there weren't as many kind of big Corrie news things to discuss this week. I was kind of having a browse this past year. I was looking through the cabins briefly the other day, and a lot of it was awards for this, awards for that, and yeah, not a whole lot going on. Not enough big things. I think the biggest development in terms of this is new for Coronation Street this year. You got the audience with Coronation Street. That made a big splash. And I'm really, really glad it did go down well. Because that could have been in a world where people are still a bit down on Coronation Street, it could have been a flub. And it actually was absolutely fantastic. We went to 2 of the shows, and wouldn't surprise me if they do it again. Sharon hosting it was amazing. They had the likes of Amanda Barry, Barbara Knox, William Roach alongside some of the newer guard as well. It was so lovely to see Coronation Street up in lights, especially outside the London show. It's like, it feels important again.
Yeah, that's true. It feels culturally relevant.
Yeah, just for that little bit. So I really want to celebrate that this year. I think one of the other things that was big this year in Corrie, for some people at least, was when they started putting the episodes on YouTube. Now, it was late 2024, I think, when they first started uploading them at 7 a.m. on ITVX. But this year, YouTube early uploads. I mean, I still will... I'll die on the hill of they shouldn't have done it. They need to keep it on at 8:30 or whatever time it's going to be on, and that's when the premiere is. But that's by the by. But yeah, I think that the YouTube uploads has definitely been good for expanding the audience and convenience for a lot of people, even if for me it's not been personally a good thing. Although actually, I will say that if I've ever wanted to get screenshots of an episode, I can do that a lot better with them being uploaded on YouTube because ITVX doesn't let you do it. And has it kind of affected you in any way at all? Thoughts on the YouTube uploads along with ITVX, or has it not really made much of a dent?
I think it's a really smart move from their perspective because, when you're talking about how do people watch things, there's a generation of people now who just don't watch television. They watch YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube is their TV.
And when you talk about a lot of optimism of 2025 was fueled by, don't worry, in 2026 they're going to change because they're going to move to half an hour
That
episodes.
was the big news, wasn't it, early on in the year? Yeah.
And I think a lot of our hopes and dreams were pinned on this, going, once we get to that, it will be fine. Once we get to that, it will be fine.
You're right.
But I also think that part of the reason, and I don't think we've ever thought about this or discussed this before, part of the reason they moved from hours to 22 minutes is because it's more YouTube friendly.
Yeah, quite possibly. Actually,
having a daily update and having 22 minutes is way more palatable for a generation of people that watch on YouTube only.
Or just any of the younger crowd who allegedly have no attention spans.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've heard that Netflix is now telling its writers to keep summing the plot up as you go. What's a more mobile phone friendly genre than a soap where people remind you at the beginning of every episode why they're mad at somebody or what happened last week?
Yeah.
It's kind of a perfect solution to losing viewers from terrestrial television to make your show YouTube friendly and then whack it on for everyone to watch across the world. But the only thing I will say is that it doesn't look like the numbers are massive for Corrie. It's still getting 60,000, which is nothing. It's nothing at all. It's not like
kill for that on our channel though.
Well, I mean, we've had more than that before on one video.
Maybe one video is taught.
I know, but that's really nothing.
No, I know, but at least it's another way. I think at the beginning, I think you could watch them abroad on YouTube as well, which was handy. But I don't think you can now. I think it's possibly location locked. I think I'm right in saying that. But YouTube is a lot easier to download and reshare out. YouTube is easier to download and reshare elsewhere, isn't it, than maybe some of the other streaming platforms. So I guess Corrie has spread a bit because of the easily availability. And when you want as many eyes on your show as possible, if numbers are declining, then how are you going to... Why not do this?
Maybe I spoke a bit too soon because it looks as though they are topping 100,000.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think they did that before. When they were doing uploads... on YouTube, I don't think that they got.
So is it increased as the time has gone by?
I do think so. I think it's
a
a canny thing to do, and I guess the thing you're constantly up against as a fan is how much do you want them to change the show to keep it surviving before you're going to say, this isn't the show I want to watch anymore. And a lot of people have already reached that limit, and a lot of them already got there when, other stories happen, like Pat Phelan's story that kind of lost quite a few people, and so on and so on. Every time they change or do anything different, the risk is losing.
But it is funny. I was like looking back at the viewing figures, and even back then in the Pat Phelan era, it was getting like 7, 8, maybe sometimes 9 million viewers. I
know, but now it gets 4. And did 3 million people stop watching it because they didn't like Pat Phelan?
I think the viewing figures went up under Kate Oates a little bit, but I don't know. Right, okay, so let's talk about special episodes, because you said that was something that stood out to you as being a major hallmark of 2025 Coronation Street. Do you think it's a good thing? You enjoying it?
It's a good thing.
Good thing, bad thing?
I think...
Mixed.
No, I think it's brilliant. I can't think of a downside of doing this, apart from some people don't like them. And I know that Kate Brooks was under fire. I think it was Joshua. Didn't like the way she worded what she said when she said it's traditional. I can't remember.
It was something along the lines of we've still got plenty of other normal Coronation Street to appease the old school fans.
Yeah.
But I'm very much appeased by some of these special episodes. And again, it was a sort of, I don't know, I don't think I've ever been dead against them. I definitely changed my opinion somewhat over the years, and maybe it's just I've been battered down into acceptance of it. I would have said that this isn't Corrie, but I've got to admit, if I know that there's a special episode coming up, or even better, if I don't know there's a special episode and I turn it on and it's looking a bit different, I do have that little tingle of excitement. And on the whole, I wouldn't say I've been let down particularly by a special episode. There's been some that have been better than others, but for creating talking points, getting people interested in it, having a discussion about it, possibly awards bait, and saying, oh, do you remember when such and such happened? I think, I don't know, it's cheap and it's just for the short term, but the special episodes have done, not wonders, but they've held the discussion of Coronation Street this year. I mean, just look at the reaction that Mason's death episode got, which was the first one of 2025. I think that was probably the one that's gone down the best, but it's not like it's been plummeting downhill since then. That was a super effective episode, and it wouldn't have had half the dramatic impact without the sliding doors reveal, without the flash forward, without some of the music, I'm going to say, without the filmic effects. It was a really, really great piece of television, and in some parts of it definitely stood toe-to-toe with some of the other high-end dramas that you might get on ITV.
I have a very different perspective on this than you do, because I don't see this as... I never thought of this as a challenge. A special episode doesn't feel like un-Corrie to me. And I don't know how many people actually listen. Lots of people don't listen to the end of the show that we do, the weekly show. Maybe more people will listen to this, but I did challenge the idea. Kate Brooks said that this is not a traditional way, not traditional soap, and I really, really don't think that's true. I think that Coronation Street has been doing special episodes, and that was one of the things that made it such a special show back in the 60s. And I used the example of Ida's death, who's Ken Barlow's mum, who went missing, and we got to follow the police inspector who was trying to solve the mystery of who this woman was, who had been killed, etc., etc. But I also realised that there were many other special episodes. We had when they went to Blackpool, we had the coach trip episode, we had when they went to Blue John Mines. All of those episodes felt like they would be a kind of very special episode now, where you just follow one storyline and everyone's united. And like the Blue John Mines is a really good example, because they all went on a trip, everybody split up and they had different things happen, and then you get Irma and David get engaged, and that's like the special thing that happened in that special episode. Yeah,
and yes, they didn't have extra music and they didn't have filming effects, but you're right, some of them did still feel standalone. But
can I say they did have an episode where they had that, because they went to Blackpool and they didn't have the sound. They lost the sound, or they didn't record it properly. And so you've got this scene where it's just music being played over the top of
like
Nina Sharples and Minnie looking at saucy postcards or whatever happened, and that's weird as hell. We also had that very weird episode where Elsie gets married and she's wandering around in the gardens and they're playing some kind of weird Spanish
flamenco music when she's about to marry Steve. Yeah,
there are so many moments in Corrie where they've done stuff like that in the very distant past of the show, the very inception of the show. And I think the big problem is that for probably a good chunk of 40 years in the middle, they never did anything like that. Maybe I'm wrong and they did do more stuff like that, but these special episodes never felt like a challenge or like something that Corrie shouldn't do. And I think it gives such great creative freedom to the writers and the crew to think outside the box a bit and come up with something really, really very special that does get spoken about. And maybe there'll be an episode that somebody says, hey, look, you like insert topic here or insert technique here. Why don't you watch this episode? Like, imagine if somebody is like dealing with a really sensitive topic that they can then work through by watching, an episode of Coronation Street. Like, say you have a siege that you want to work through emotionally, or maybe you can't remember what your favourite pudding is, and you need somebody to scream it at you so you can work it out immediately.
You just have to watch Rob and Carla and Lisa with a gun pointed at them at number 1. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean some of the special episodes last year didn't, like the Peep Show one. I thought was a bit. I couldn't get it out of my head.
I liked that more than you did. I thought that was really clever, and I just adore David and Shona, and I thought it was so clever when we got to the advert break and we flashed back and it's like, oh, this is what they're doing, because I had no idea that episode was coming up. But you weren't a fan, were you?
No, because a Peep Show is like one of my favourite. It's like my comfort show. I just watch it continuously, and I couldn't take myself out of the format, and the format of Peep Show is a comedy, and so they're discussing a really tragic
baby with a lump on its neck.
And honestly, if that was an episode of Peep Show, it would be hilarious. But it wasn't funny.
Do you have anyone, I mean, Mason episode, obviously, any ones that do stand out to you as being, that was a real high point of the year? I think that worked. It's difficult to compare to the Mason one, but are there any close there for you?
I mean, some of these I don't recognise what they are from what you've written. Like,
sorry.
What's behind closed doors?
That was the CCTV one.
I thought that was brilliant.
That was great.
That's
probably my second favourite, if I had to rank them.
I didn't really like David's one. I thought the premise was so melodramatic.
Which one?
The one where he's going, I'm gonna jump in front of a car because I
owe money
to somebody.
3 hours to go.
Yeah, I thought that was such a melodramatic overreaction. It kind of felt like it didn't deserve.
That was just, I think that was just the idea of the story of him deciding to get away from these unseen gangsters. Flippant unseen gangsters this year. That's the theme of 2025. I know, it's like Corrie it's not Curtis's lot, it's Harvey. I can't believe how many times Harvey was name dropped as this mega threat at the beginning of 2025, and we didn't see hide nor hair of him.
And Curtis.
Yeah, well, yeah, Curtis. We don't even know what he looks like. Becky's Curtis, yeah. I think that I'm looking at the list and saying maybe there were some that weren't brilliant there. I think I enjoyed the party episode, Ardy's party, especially with that bit at the end when Nina and Summer come into the cafe and it's like, oh my gosh, what have we seen? We can never tell anyone about this, which turned to be pretty much nothing in the end. It was just Gary who'd been bonked on the head by Lou. But I enjoyed how the kids, this age group of teens, well, above teens now, Ardy, Summer, Asher, Nina, who I think have been supremely neglected in the past couple of years, giving them their own special episode. I thought that was a great idea. I thought that, the behind closed doors one was fantastic when we were seeing everything through the eyes of the cameras. And it was so tense, wasn't it? Especially in the bits where we were like, hang on, has Todd killed Theo?
I know.
And it turned out no in the end, and things kind of went back to how they were. But in even David's one, where he was planning to get knocked down by a car, like you were saying, even though I thought it was a bit naff, the way that the whole story revolved around that, and I think he probably could have got out of his financial woes in a different way, it still was enough to keep me hooked. And it's like, oh, they're doing this.
What are they doing?
Yeah, what are they doing? How are they doing this? Kit's flashback I quite enjoyed. I mean, the Platt fire, it was done in a way that was engaging, even if the single shot through the flames, most of which were CGI, it just kind of spoilt it for me. I think that Debbie had a few special-ish episodes, didn't they? That scene where she is going to visit the doctor, because sometimes it was only part of an episode, wasn't it? Peep Show was only part of an episode. Asher's bad day as a paramedic was only half an episode, I think. But that quarter of an episode, which was Debbie sitting down in front of the doctor, and it was talking to the camera almost constantly for 15 minutes or so about, I'm worried, I've been having all these incidents. And then like flashes of her finding the purse in the fridge, having the collapse in the ginnel. It was so well done. And I don't know whether Debbie's Girls on the Town counts as a special episode in the same way as the others.
No, you can't just throw every section that was a bit different.
It felt different. It felt out in the ordinary, but that did go down really well. And a lot of people were saying, "Oh, this is what Corrie actually is." I mean, special episodes to me often mean wibbly wobbly cameras at some point or some kind of different film stock, and this didn't have that, or different aspect ratio.
I mean, I know we're not doing predictions this year, but if I'm going to predict a special episode, I think there will be a truly one take episode this year.
Do you?
I mean, they can't really do it over because there's a break, isn't there? But I do think that they tried to do it with the Platt fire, and it didn't work, because we could tell.
Well, this is the thing. You've got to keep going. You can't have another episode which was just showing inside people's heads. You can't have another episode that's just following someone on a bad day at work.
But they've had 2 flashbacks. Yeah,
that's true. The Maggie one was very different. Again, that was a snippet of an episode. I suppose the Kit one was snippets here and there, but Maggie's one felt a lot less developed. It was 3 or 4 scenes. But I did quite like how they had the 4:3 aspect ratio, because that's how things were back in the early 90s, wasn't they? Just like everything really was black and white in the 1960s. Are we going to get
Ken having a black and white flashback?
Yeah, well, that was one of my pictures for 2025, wasn't it? Back to 1960. It was interesting how they tied in Maggie's 65th birthday to Corrie's. I think I quite enjoyed that. I was like, okay, it's a nice little nod. So although, looking down this list of special episodes, there are some that really stand out above all others. And the best ones stand shoulder to shoulder with the Paul special episode from 24, when you could hear inside his head and Billy was nearly there, ready to end things. That was absolutely outstanding.
I think Mason stabbing is probably the best one they've ever done, and I think that it feels criminally underrated and a bit forgotten about.
I don't know. I mean, it's still getting nods. I mean,
we gave it an award.
We gave it an award, and I was having some little DMs with Luca at the time, and he was sort of saying to me, "I can't believe that this is still getting recognised all this time later, because obviously he filmed it, 13, 14 months ago now." So I would say keep trying with the special episodes, Coronation Street. Keep going with it. Not trying, that sounds a little bit condescending, doesn't it? But keep it up. I know not everybody likes it, but it's an interesting technique. It's you got your vision, Kate Brooks, to do it this way. I'm enjoying it, and you're right. It doesn't come round so often. I mean, they're averaging about once a month, it feels, at the moment, but it's still far enough apart that it doesn't feel like it's drowning out what real, in inverted commas, Coronation Street is or should be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to criticise anybody who doesn't think that it feels like Corrie to them, because even though I said that historically speaking it is not unusual for Corrie to do this, I recognise that it is unusual in the grand scheme of things. So I'm not going to come down on anybody who doesn't enjoy it, but I think that Coronation Street is got to innovate a bit to compete with other things, and if one episode that is a bit unusual hooks somebody in, then you've got a new viewer. And I think one thing I always said about Corrie that I've always wanted them to do that they never have done is to have a special guest talent behind, like in the crew. And we've had lots of guest star actors, but that I know of, we've not had, this episode is written by a very special, or this
directed
is directed
by Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, no, they've never done that. Why? Now we've got half-hour episodes and we've established this precedent of having unusual special episodes. Why not now introduce that? It's no slight on the people who direct and write it already. The same as having, say, Ian McKellen guest starring in the show doesn't say to all the other actors, you're not as good as him. Yeah. There's room for everybody, and I think that there are definitely people who would have a crack at it. Just whether they've got the budget, I've got no idea.
I wonder whether they will ever be able to, or choose to, be allowed to stretch an episode out for an hour if they want it to be special. And, maybe Christmas will be a special and that's just a given. But the Behind Closed Door episode, the Mason episode, some of the others really benefited from having that hour's room to properly develop it. And, some of the Debbie stuff, the Asher episode, that was only half of the episode.
Yeah, some of
those
was
fine.
Feel like they should have been only half an hour as a special episode by themselves.
Yeah, I think the Asher episode kind of was a bit of a letdown for me, because it's like, oh come on, we never see Asher at work. We're supposed to believe that she's going through all of this trauma, and you can't even stretch it out to an episode. But at least now, if it was half an hour, we'd probably say, wow, that was a full episode of it, and maybe I'll be looking more favourably on it. But yeah, it is a shame in a way that some of the better ones did take advantage of being an hour long, and quite probably we're not going to be able to have that this year. I don't know how much leeway Corrie's got, probably none, because there's Emmerdale to consider of going to an hour if they need to, and there's budgets and everything. You can't just say, can we just have another half an hour?
Well, it's not just budgets. There's the schedule they've already got, and we're going to get rid of, just because ITV comes to them and says, on the 15th of September you can have an hour if you want, doesn't mean that they're in a position to storyline something in that's going to justify an hour.
Maybe there's going to be more special weeks, because I think this week I've heard on Emmerdale it's flashback week, and I don't know what that means. Are they going back to telling us more about Corriedale?
It's Graham, isn't it?
Emmerdale, maybe. Yeah, Graham in Emmerdale.
Apparently they've explained a lot more about how he is back to life than...
Oh, okay. Well, maybe we need to see that.
That's a rumour I've heard.
But yeah, maybe we'll see more special weeks, because they want to do something that's longer than half an hour, and you can't make it an hour. I don't know. Well, I guess that remains to be seen, doesn't it? As I said quite a while ago now, at the beginning of the episode, 2025 to me, special episode, Swarla, exits. And this was the big talking point 12 months ago, wasn't it? Because it felt like you couldn't have a week go by without some newspaper or online blog or whatever splashing the article that another Corrie cast member had chosen to leave or been axed from Coronation Street. And it was quite kind of panic stations. Do you think...
It was so annoying.
How are you kind of feeling about it now things have settled? Because a lot of them were in the first half of the year. We had Jenny, we had Dee Dee in the second half of the year, but a lot of them were, up to the summer, weren't they? Was it as bad as we imagined it to be? Did it just feel like a constant revolving door? What are you
talking about? What annoyed me was people going, they're all leaving because they hate Kate Brooks, it's rubbish, the whole thing's tanking, da-da-da-da-da, get out what you can, they're all leaving, rats leaving a sinking ship. A lot of these people had already decided, before Kate Brooks was even hired, that they were going to go.
Yeah.
And some of them were her decision to get rid of.
Well, Craig was, and Colson Smith was very open on his podcast about talking about the experience of being axed. A lot of the other ones seems like it was, it's what we call it, isn't it, in Soapland?
They booted.
I think a lot of the other ones were genuinely a decision from the actors, or a mutual agreement that the character had run its course between the actor and...
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to speculate about it, because it's all down to the individual to disseminate what they want about how they decided to leave.
I think that there was a period in the spring where it felt like it was one after another. I'm thinking like Craig, Eileen, Daisy, they all felt like they were a quick succession, weren't they? And I think that did have an adverse effect for me on Craig's death. And I don't think, lots of other people were saying it was very impactful, but I do remember just feeling a bit, we called it, death fatigue or trauma fatigue or sympathy fatigue. And Craig's death should have had a bigger impact on me, and it just didn't.
Yeah, because we really like Coulson, like Craig. He was a bit of a mascot. We'd seen him grow up.
Yeah.
And sort of blossom, and
it
should have been more. It should have been. Yeah, you're right.
Can't believe that they actually killed him off, though. If you'd have given me the list of characters at the beginning of the year and say which ones leave, which ones killed off, I would not have put Craig down as a killer offer, because he had potential to come back. I do think the character had run its course, and they weren't using him to his advantage. He'd become a bit of a joke character. So certainly a break was on the cards. But hey, this is a clean break, isn't it? I'm just a bit surprised. But as we talked about earlier, it did kick off stuff in the Swarla storyline with Lisa having a bit of trauma about it.
There are some, Julie died as well.
Well, Julie died. That made me mad. That was some of the most annoyed I got in the year when we found out that Julie had cancer. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Because that was kept as a surprise. They was like, "Hey everybody, Julie Carp's back." And if you followed Corrie News outside of the show, you knew that Eileen was leaving. So it was like, okay, she's coming in for Eileen's exit storyline. Maybe she's not going to stay, but you got this little hope in the back of your head that she could come to replace Eileen in a way. But when on her second episode back, it was revealed, "Hey, I've got terminal cancer." You get Coronation. What a horrible thing to happen. But it was joyous to have Julie back, wasn't it? Just for 2-3 months was she in it? That was, and it wasn't the best period of the year, but I think Julie was a definite highlight of that spring period.
Yeah.
Death itself, again, it was just one of many exits in a row. And
yeah, what happened with this was you couldn't give everyone a proper exit storyline because you would have never done anything else. I mean, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Well, there were 12 exits if you include Julie.
Yeah, but you've also got, the likes of Tommy Orpington
and Bobby. Okay.
Oh, Bobby.
But that's one a month, and for a proper exit, you want to know a few months beforehand. There's got to be something that's like Daisy. Daisy felt like she got a good exit.
I think out of all of these, Daisy's exit felt like they gave it the most meat on its bones. It felt like a couple of months story of everything culminating with Jenny and Daisy's butting heads and Jenny getting the money from Greg's investments, not telling her, Christina coming in, Jenny being fleeced and tricked by Christina. That felt like it was a proper classic exit storyline. And then, what do you know? Daisy's actual exit was one of my favourites of the year. Going off in the taxi, great use of music, which I don't always like.
Even that was a bit weird when she had her narrating the gifts that she bestowed.
Well, it was they were reading the letters, weren't they? But I didn't mind it. I absolutely adored it. And I don't know whether it was just because it was the character, it was the writers, it was the build-up, but whatever it was, I think that she got an absolutely superb exit. But I think out of all the characters that have left this year, Jenny's a different kettle of fish as a bit of a Corrie favourite, a Conversation Street favourite, but Daisy is one of the ones that still now I'm just absolutely gutted that she's gone. But yes, so many of the others were just, I'm thinking of going. Next episode, yeah, I'm definitely going. Episode after that, bye, I'm off. And I think Sally and Matthew spoke to me on the podcast about it when we did that exit interview, that they don't do proper exit storylines as much as possible. So Yasmin, nothing. Dee Dee, nothing.
The worst was Bobby, who just went without anyone knowing.
Was that the worst though, Gemma, or is that secretly the best?
No, I mean, as far as storytelling goes, and we even said this on the show ourselves about once we know somebody's going, if they're not a character that you're that bothered about, you suddenly don't care about them.
Yes, that was what Sal said as well.
And that's what they found from doing the surveys, is that you lose investment in that character. So what are they supposed to do? What can they do? I mean, my only argument is kill them off altogether. There were so many people that left around the same time they had a fire. They had a plat fire. I can't remember what else.
Yeah, I was just going to say, plat fire could have been a chance to have killed off Yasmin, and it wasn't. That's how you do an immediate exit with no build-up.
Yeah, exactly.
Have a shock.
Yasmin and Max could have burned to a crisp.
I think that they really did dirty on Max, having him be the arsonist and then end up getting sent to prison for it, because he was a good lad. He had a bit of a turnaround, hadn't he?
But imagine
a Max
what
turnaround, if you will.
What the narrative would have been if all, a chunk, say 3 or 4 had gone at once. Imagine the narrative would have been completely different about the number of people who exited compared to this drip, drip, drip of, we're going to have a week where we're going to discuss this person going and then they go. Just tediously drawing it out.
I think that Ardy's was okay, compared to some of the others, because it kind of started off with that party, didn't it? When he, weirdly and very much out of character, decided, hey, let's have drugs at the party, and we'll just leave him on the side there. He didn't spike Lauren, did he? Just want to get that out there. Again, Lauren chose to take that drink, she by mistake. But you had that, and then you had kind of people turning against him. You had the reunion with Amy, which I loved having, because that was a big lingering romance that I was just wanting to happen. And when we heard that Adam Hussein was leaving, I was like, oh, they'll never go down there. But they did, just briefly. But then it was kind of spoiled a little bit when Amy kind of turned on him the next episode. He was there for Deb's wedding. It felt like he had something, which I was very appreciative of, because Ardy was definitely a favourite, and I do hope he comes back. I think there's still 100% a place for him in Coronation Street. Who else? Like Jenny's exit, what are your thoughts on that now we're, 6 months away from it?
It hasn't changed, really, since we've discussed it before, where we said, if you were going to make someone leave in one episode, this is as good as you can get.
Yeah. Because that was very much like, again,
I woke up in the morning and I didn't know where my passport was, and now I'm off to a foreign country to live.
They had a go at building it up, didn't they? Because they had her fancying George, and then Christina coming in as the rival. But then there was a week or 2 weeks where she didn't appear on screen. But yeah, that final episode very much was a case of, what was it? She lied about Rita going to hospital, and then that made George hate her. Oh. And then she's like, "Oh, stuff this for Game of Soldiers. I'm going off to Tenerife," and that was it. But at least she had somewhat of a emotional final scene with Rita outside the Rovers, inside the Rovers, marching away, the rechristening as Bradley.
Yeah.
I think, if you, as you say, if they were going to do a 1 episode exit, and I know lots of people didn't like it because it was a 1 episode exit, and for lots of viewers, they hadn't had chance to get used to the news that Sally Ann Matthews was leaving, because that was kept under wraps until just a few weeks before she left, maybe a month or so. And I think people were thinking, oh, what if Jenny goes out in Corriedale?
Yeah, really not expecting her to go that quick, because normally you find out months and months before.
By the time that the news broke, she'd already finished filming for a good month and a half or so, hadn't she?
Yeah.
So I don't think, I assume we're not going to get as many exits in Coronation Street this year. I mean, certainly the cast could do with a little trim around the edges here and there. As far as I know, obviously we've had Billy, we've had Becky, but we knew that she wasn't going to be here for long. I don't think I know of anybody else who is leaving. Like, no one's been announced, have they? And we've not been told anyone off the record is leaving. Not that we would be told necessarily anyway, unless we specifically asked. But even if we did ask, we might not be told. But as far as I know,
well, I'm not saying anything.
Do you know somebody?
You know exactly what's going to happen. You've just forgotten. But I'm just going to say,
I have totally forgotten.
There are a few people on this list, and I won't name names, that we definitely could have killed off without losing much, because I don't think they would ever come back to the show anyway. You know.
Yeah.
So I think that the reluctance to kill people off feels like it might be damaging people.
Yeah.
Damaging Corrie, because like we just said, nobody wants a tedious 1 week story about somebody going that you don't care about and you're not going to even notice isn't in the show. And it does feel like a waste when somebody dies like Craig, but it wouldn't have been a waste if, you know, they'd had a big stunt that had killed off a bunch of people. I don't know. I think it's really hard. I think it is really hard to kill people off. It must be really hard as a producer to make that decision. So, I'm not in a position where I'm putting my money where my mouth is and saying, oh yeah, I'd do it. Because it feels horrible, but I can't see the upside of some of these characters having an open door to come back. Even if I liked them. Because there are so many characters in the show already. Yeah, they don't necessarily need to. Speaking of comebacks, we did have a few mini little ones in 2025, didn't we? I mean, obviously the big comeback was Eva at the end of the year, and I can't remember, it seemed fairly early in the year, I think I'm remembering it rightly, that it was reported that Kath Tilsley would be returning to Coronation Street, and it has been lovely having her back, but we're 3 weeks into 2026 now, and I'm still feeling like they've not made as much of her return as they might have done, despite her being there at the top of the Rovers. Let's be fair. Nearly the top. Apart from what she said to Leanne and Toya, it could have and Adam, it could have been anybody. Like, it's great to have Eva back because of her personality, and Kath is fantastic, the way she plays her. But they could have had anybody. They could have had a different bubbly blonde be Ben's wife, and the story would have been absolutely no different at all. Everything that's happening to Eva at the moment is new development since we saw her last. She never had a boyfriend with kids. She never had. Susie was a baby, so she didn't have a young child to look after. She didn't have a step kid in Will and Ollie. She didn't have an evil stepmother who had a dark secret. All of this is new off-screen developments that could have happened to somebody else. It doesn't feel like she's having that many interactions with anyone other than the Driscoll family. Yeah. A lot of her scenes, I'm picturing her behind the scenes at the Rovers, or maybe at a push, standing behind the bar and with Ben or Maggie. Yeah. Where's her just standing by herself going, all right, babes, how you doing? I've seen you. Yeah, or just getting out there. How many scenes has she had not in the pub? Not very many at this point. Even, have we seen any reaction at all to her for Billy's death this year? No. So I think there's a lot more potential for Eva that they're squandering at the moment. Well, they did I get that they need to build the other characters first because we don't know them and we do know Eva. That's true. Give them time, I guess. I mean, we did. She did talk. She did have all that rift with Maria. But it does feel like a bit of a token. I was going to say, it seems a bit tokenistic. Oh, remember, they've got beef, but it doesn't really matter. How can we complain about them not doing it? And then when they do it, go, well, it's just tokenistic. Because they just threw it in for an episode or two. And she got Toya and Leanne talking after supposedly off screen because we didn't see them being at each other's throats for a year, and that was just done, waved a magic wand and there you go. But I'm so glad that Eva came back. I'm very, very chuffed that as part of my 2025 predictions a year ago, I said Eva coming back. And to be fair, I think when I said that, I was thinking, right, I know that Ryan Thomas is coming back for a little bit as Jason, so maybe they'll bring Eva back and have them do something together there. But yeah, they did not pass in the night, those ships, did they? In this past year, didn't even toot a horn at each other. Wasn't it great seeing Jason back, even if it was for a week, 2 weeks max? I can't remember. I loved it. I found it really odd. He did feel like from a different era. He did, because his era. His era was the sexy soap star era, wasn't it? Yeah. With, Michelle Keegan get voted sexiest soap star for like a million years in a row, and the more tabloidy, more like about the soap stars themselves and what they're up to. It felt like he breezed in from the early 2000s. I mean, it was only 2017. That's what's bizarre about it. He hasn't been gone that long, and we had been doing the podcast since he left. Yeah, he was in the show when we were recording, but I forgot that he just felt like a relic. Relic sounds like a negative word. I don't mean it in a negative way, but he just felt out of place a little bit. And it's not because Ryan Thomas felt any different. His performance was the same. I just think the show maybe's moved on.
Maybe that's what we're getting with Eva as well, a little bit. The honest, she's a little bit campy, sexy.
Yeah.
Not issues based in the slightest.
Yeah, can you imagine Jason having an issue story? I don't think he even knows what that word means. I'm sure he did have...
He does. He got his issue of nuts under the bed. That's for him.
I'm sure he had something approaching that, but the era he came from felt very untroubled and unproblematic, where half the stories he had then, they probably wouldn't even have now without hand wringing and massive blocks of text being posted on Twitter as pictures.
Yeah, I know, but I really enjoyed it. I loved as short a time it lasted, the family dynamic of Eileen and Todd and Jason there at number 11. Even though it was a different Todd he was interacting with, of course, I felt they gelled together really well. And Eileen's exit was done. She could have had a more iconic exit than what she got. I think it was probably, along the same lines as Gail in terms of scale. But bringing...
I think Gail's was bigger.
Do you reckon?
Yeah. They both had...
Would have been bigger if Martin Platt had come back.
Well.
Less said about that, the better.
Well... You've totally thrown me off.
Sorry. I don't know, she got a taxi man salute at the end. She got 2 returns. I know Jason was only a short one, but Julie came back as well. It felt like they did invest in Eileen's exit. They had all the silliness with embalming Julie and all that rubbish.
I think it's Gail went at Christmas and we had Richard Hillman and it was so bizarre and fun.
Big wedding.
Yeah, it felt different.
Yeah, but it was a fine exit for Eileen. Who else did we have coming back this year? Oh, James,
recast along with Lily and Harry.
Oh yeah, we did have a couple of other recasts this year.
And it's so funny too, because looking back on our, the discourse we've had many years in our 14th year now of doing the show. And when we first started, we scoffed at the idea of recasts and said that doesn't really happen on soaps here. And now it's just like anyone could get recast at any time.
Well, not anyone.
Well, I don't think they could get rid of William Roach, but
mostly
it's certainly not an anomaly.
I would say it's still enough of an anomaly. They didn't want to get Nathan Graham back to play Jason.
Many characters... I wouldn't be surprised at all if Max doesn't come back with a new head.
Oh, I hope not.
I don't want that to happen. I'm not saying that at all. Same with Ardy. I think that I love both those actors. I think that I really, really like them. I thought they were great. But 10 years ago, I'd have said no way. They just wouldn't bring the character back. Now I'm saying it's open season.
The jury is still out for me as to whether it was... It's not really out, I think it's guilty. About James's return and was there any point to it, because I'm going to say none whatsoever.
Who would Carl have shagged?
They could have got some guy, couldn't they?
Who would have co-parented with Dee Dee, Michael?
No, looking at the episode appearances again, Ed and Michael are also next to nothing last year. Dee Dee, she had a massive drop from 2024, but it was still in a fair amount. We didn't see a whole lot of the new James. He didn't seem to have... I don't feel like they've done anything to develop his personality or to show us why we should like him. I think that he's maybe a little bit edgy, a little bit I don't care about, sleeping with Carl, having these secret liaisons with her. The other James, I got the feel, I would say he was kind of a nice guy, a bit sweet, a bit soppy. Yeah. And this new James is maybe a little bit cooler.
Yeah, but I'd agree with that.
But in a way that doesn't make him in any way endearing to me. Sorry, it's not.
The prospect of the Bailey boys becoming a force to be reckoned with is something that I am finding more and more interesting as Debbie's story progresses and they begin to band around Ronnie, and they're definitely developing them as a sort of a group and a united front in the absence of Aggie, which I think they struggled with.
Aggie really was the glue for that family.
But now they've got this bond with Ronnie about their adversity, and it's going to be really interesting to see how that develops.
It does make me wonder whether we will see more of Ed and Michael and whether they're going to spring up the character appearance table on Corriepedia.
It's just something really endearing about them all sort of hunched in Debbie's flat drinking ginger beer.
I really struggle to find anything likeable about this new James at the moment.
You said.
Did I mention that? Did I? Oh, yeah, whatever.
He's buff.
We also had, I know it doesn't really count, like Gail popped up at Christmas as we're on the subject of returns. We had a few ghosts. Seb, hey? Who saw that coming? Seb coming back to haunt Abby when she's having her PTSD.
You did.
I did see that coming because I saw Harry Vizzanoni the previous year when he was going filming. And of course Doran back. And I think I had another...
He's not a ghost, but he might as well be. Maybe he did die in Romania.
I think I've only, again, had a brief look at my predictions for 2025 before this. I should have made more of a thing of it. But I did do a prediction of Alina and Doran coming back this year. And I was half right. Alina just kind of dumped him on the doorstep in the middle of the night, it felt like, and has promptly forgotten him.
She's like a scatty deer that's left her fawn on somebody's porch and then got shot.
And I'm yet to see, apart from the fact that just everybody loves Doran, what's the point? What has Doran being back at number 9 really added to that family dynamic this year? Because I'm going to say it's pretty much nothing. He's not an Evelyn replacement, as great as he is.
I'm not gonna be specific about the kids, but I could have a year off of anyone under the age of 10 very happily, even despite how much I've praised, some of the characters, and the actors are all, I'm sure, lovely and very talented, but I do think there's a bit of a thing on Corrie at the moment of having outspoken, cute kids coming in and like performing their being outspoken and cute and then going away and adding nothing but being outspoken and cute, which is fine. But I'd rather have a cat or a dog be cute and bark or something.
I will have Doran any day of the week. I mean, no, not over a cat.
I just think...
But...
I'm not talking about Doran. I'm not talking about anyone specific. I'm just thinking it's very easy for that to get old fast, and I would hate for that to happen to a poor child who is just doing what they're told. And it can wear very thin, and also that, the children themselves don't necessarily always choose to do this, and sometimes if they lose interest, it can become quite, obvious they're not enjoying it, and maybe they shouldn't be there, and it's really tricky with child actors, which is why it's good that AI is going to replace them.
You reckon, is that your prediction for 2025, AI Corrie kids?
It's just funny because I genuinely do not think I watch many shows where children are at all part of anything. I know that there are lots of shows that have kids in them.
We don't watch them,
but I just don't watch them because I'm not interested. I couldn't.
It's bizarre.
Be asked.
It's funny how Grace Ashcroft Gardner, who I guess has got potential, was replacing Lily this year, but they've really not done much with her apart from trapping Sam in a classroom during the gun rampage. I don't really know. Is she a bit more of a mean girl now? She seems just like so completely and utterly different.
Because I would say like a very polished ballerina. I can't believe she plays football. I think she's a ballerina.
The last Lily, you didn't see her loads, but I think they did enough to develop a personality. Yeah. Sometimes when like when Tina O'Brien took over as Sarah Lou back in 2000. Like, there wasn't much to Sarah Lou before that. The same as when Jack P. Shepard took over as the old David. It's like, well, no personality to a personality, fine. But old Lily seemed a lot more kind of established. But yeah, she was kind of a lot more spunky and
she was sporty and she was outspoken.
Yeah.
And I felt like I knew who she was. I don't know who new Lily is.
She seems a bit more prissy, maybe. But so what?
She hasn't had a chance. She hasn't.
No, she's not had the big story.
The only thing she's done is something that didn't really make her shine in glory, did it?
No, I guess we might see a bit more of her with the Joji storyline going on.
They clearly recast her for a reason.
Speaking of kids...
for a new story.
Speaking of kids, I have very much missed Sam's presence on Coronation Street. And, we don't always like the young ones, but Sam Blakeman, lovely Jude, is a bit of a special case, and I think he's adorable.
I didn't call him a special case.
Well, we've just not seen him, have we?
No.
Last seen cowering under a desk.
Every time you see him, something terrible's happening to him. So maybe he's just enjoying life.
It's so
being
funny.
Unbothered.
So funny. I still picture him as a little chubby 8-year-old.
I know.
And he's not. He's grown up now.
You criticise Toya and Nick for being boring all you want, but that child has lived in perfect bliss and harmony since they took over from Leanne.
I think he's going to be back in the next couple of weeks or so, I hear. So hopefully it's going to be for longer this year, because I absolutely really rate that kid, that actor. I think he's absolutely smashing. Let's make 2026. Was that what year we are now? Yes, more of the year of Sam, please.
I mean, speaking of children, we also had Brony, Shoney, Grony, and Negroni.
Oh yeah, well we got new characters this year. I don't feel like there was any one new character that stuck the course and was absolutely couldn't do without you. I can't believe where have you been all my life.
They weren't a Lauren or a Dee Dee or a Lisa.
No, apart from obviously Lou, who won the AF award for us, but she was
a star that shined too brightly for our eyes.
I genuinely think that Ben Driscoll is absolutely smashing and amazing as a character. I so rate Aaron McCusker, who I knew nothing of before him. I think he's a really solid bloke. He's a no-nonsense guy, but he's not uncaring. I think, he's stuck in the middle of Eva and Maggie. He's a man's man.
Obnoxious.
He's a tough but firm but fair parent. I really, really love watching him.
But he's also very capable of making mistakes.
Yeah.
And he's got his vices and his foibles.
Like with Eva, he needs to spread his wings outside the pub a little bit, because he's very much behind the bar.
Maybe he'd
mostly only has scenes with the Driscoll clan.
Bat watching.
Maybe he would like bat watching. You never know.
I can imagine him sitting in a wherever. Is it a hide for bats with
Royston.
Roy and Nina just like, what are we doing again? Why is this fun?
But yeah,
do we shoot them?
A lot of the other new characters either didn't make much of an impact, or I just wasn't that keen on. Like
some of them Carl, are supposed to be wrong-uns.
Mick, they do. A lot of the new characters they bring in are wrong-uns in one way or another.
Theo, and Carl were all nasty men.
Theo, I will say, we've had a real turnaround on him, haven't we? Didn't rate the character when he first came in. Weren't sure whether we were supposed to like him or not. But, Julie Karp was saying he's great, so
I'm
maybe
so glad she died before she found out the truth.
I know.
Would have killed her.
And I was just like, I think there's a real flub pairing him up with Todd. This is clearly going to be a big story for the year, and I'm not saying it that. But wow, what a turnaround. Soon as we kind of got permission, as it were, to hiss him and dislike him, it's like, oh yeah, he is going to be manipulating and coercing Todd. We are going down that road. Okay, he's a proper bad un. He's a kind of a Jeff-like character. Okay, that's fine. And I think he's been great, since mid-year. I'd say I really, really enjoyed watching Theo, and I know some people have been like, I can't stand to watch this. This is too close to home. This is too dark.
This is what I said about representation.
I think it's great.
Some people have things that are very negative, and that's their representation, and it's unbearable. It's unbearable. I mean, he's playing James Cartwright is playing him so well. And it is interesting that a lot of the characters have been antagonists. Even Brody, he's
been a funny one, hasn't he? Because he came in.
Sorry if you hear some weird noises, but the cat's found the bubble wrap. So
if we will leave it over the floor in the podcast room, it's our own fault. Brody, because he came in when Dylan was in prison following the stabbing storyline, didn't he? And he was a proper nasty piece of work.
Yeah, he was in the mould of Mason. And whoever else.
Yeah,
it feels like
Corrie,
a revolving door of scrapes.
Because he was telling Sean to bring in drugs or money or something, wasn't he? And then as soon as Liam, knocked some sense into him, he comes out of prison, and he was supposed to like him, and Betsy kind of likes him. But I feel, Brody, they're kind of going back and forth on, are we going to use him? We're not going to use him. Oh look, he's Kit's secret son, but then they don't do anything with that. Not that I mind, because I don't like Kit. I
often forget. They often forget about that.
Yeah, I do as well. He just kind of feels a bit unnecessary as a character. There's enough teens. We've got Will now, of course, as well.
I'm not adverse to him.
He's obviously a really talented actor because he won all the plaudits for his Hollyoaks, right? Didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a shame. It's just a shame that there are so many people coming into the show who are super talented and they're either being churned up and spat back out again or kind of ignored like the rest of the people who've been there for 20 years or more.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose
it's just such a big cast. Something needs to happen.
What are your kind of thoughts on the Sally and Tim fostering storyline?
Everyone loves it. I don't like it at all. I don't really like. I know people love them. I'm not really fussed on Tim and Sally.
What?
I'm sure everyone knows this.
I know you don't like Tim, but Sally, or is it the Tim and Sally?
Yeah, it's Tim and Sally together because I just think
half of it's Tim.
You're too good for him. Just get rid of him. He's awful, feckless, and horrible.
No.
Even when they were doing the adoption, the fostering, he was like, "Oh, I can't bother to do this. Oh, you do it and tell me what." You read it. I can't be bothered.
I think they have some fun scenes together.
Yeah, I'm sure you think so.
I do think that, and then Sally thinks
I'm not bothered about
Tim
them.
Feckless
That's the end of it.
Fun for me.
So the fact that they've fostered some children with challenges, a part of those challenges make them a little bit unpleasant, is a bit of a non-starter for me. Even though I think that Joni is shaping up to be an interesting character, and obviously the actress
Savannah
our award. Yeah, she's very, very sweet. I think they're all lovely.
Even little Molly who plays Shanice is a bit of a firecracker, isn't she?
I think they're all very adorable, and I'd love to give them some ice cream. As far as watching them, it doesn't appeal to me.
It's been a slow burn of a story anyway, hasn't it? It's been, once every month or 2 months or something, they'll go through a period of a week or two where they say, let's see what Tim and Sally are getting up to with the kids. And maybe Brody will be there, maybe he won't be.
Maybe I'd care more about it if, since Joni decided that she was going to try a bit harder and Sally would make an effort to understand her perspective a bit better. Maybe if we'd seen that actually happen, instead of just them doing a pinky promise over a Christmas tree, I might feel a bit more engaged. But as it is, I don't think we'll see them again until
the occasional peek into the lives of number 4.
Shanice's head turns up on a silver platter.
Speaking of number 4 and the weird lack of development there, you've obviously got Tim and the Trisha storyline, which we all know what it's there for. We all know it's going to somehow tie into the Meghan and Will storyline, clearly. But because if it doesn't, then what on earth was the point of that?
Well, there are other parallel stories that, they could have had a really interesting story where Lisa discovers that Theo's abusing Todd and coercing him, and realised that Becky had been doing that to her in her relationship and had some kind of epiphany. But, a lot of the discourse with Swarla has been the fact that the fans are reading into, and there's nothing wrong about reading something into a storyline, because I do it all the time. We all do it. We all read stuff into storylines that is from our perspective, and everyone's unique. But a lot of the discourse has been them reading into Becky and Lisa a story of coercion and abuse that Coronation Street never developed or went with. And it's really difficult, and it feels like whiplash to have one story be very focused on that and another story be parallel and feel like it's not addressing that at all.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line? How do you know, unless you're told, this is the fun ride story, this is the funny wacky one, this one is actually really super serious and we partnered with a charity. But you can read much more depth into Lisa and Carla's story.
Well, especially like we were saying earlier, a lot of the Swarla fans do look at everything in the minute detail.
And it's not necessarily intended by Coronation Street for that to be read into it. But decades and decades of like literary discourse, a part of it is the death of the author, and it doesn't really matter what was intended because the reader creates the reality, or the consumer creates the story themselves sometimes. And with Becky's story, I think we've had to create half of it ourselves.
Yeah, that's true. That's another new character this year that's made a bit of impact, but I suppose we already talked about her. Can we kind of count Christina as a new character for 2025?
She's been renewed.
Yes. She's been made regular. She's had a bit of a Lisa Swain treatment here, hasn't she? Not that she was recurring in the same way as Lisa was before she was made full time, but that's the surprise. Yeah, that's the surprise twist that nobody saw coming and is absolutely amazing of the year, isn't it?
I think
that was
so.
On nobody's bingo card, having Christina come back, stay on the show, pair up with George, be an absolutely fantastic, funny, and also toned down so that she can fit in, but she still hasn't lost some of the spark that made Christina great to begin with.
No, she's fantastic.
Everything about that decision has worked, and I don't think there's many people who disagree.
I think you'd find it difficult to find them.
Yeah.
But there probably are some. But and also putting her together with George. Christina and George, it wasn't really until Eileen is gone that I think a lot of people realise that the problems they had with George were of Eileen's making. And I'm sorry if that's harsh, but it feels very true.
It really does just feel like she had him under the thumb.
It was like they were
on a leash for the years, and now finally he's been able to break free and be his true self.
It was like they were trying to do a who is it?
Got an analogy just on the tip of your tongue.
The ones that are not that came after Hilda and Stan. Vera and Jack. It's like they were trying to do a Vera and Jack with them, but it never worked because the power balance wasn't equal. Because George was such a newer character, he didn't have the status to be like, oh, get a load of her. Whenever he did, it just came across as like he was really actually quite sad and downtrodden, and she was just being nasty. Whereas with Jack and Vera, you always felt as though it was a give and take. And
I think that George and Christina do feel very much on equal.
Yeah, exactly. See, because she's new. She's new as well.
It's funny though. George he shot up in the appearance counts this year, and he ended up being, I think, the 10th most featured character of 2025. And I've really found
he's blossomed.
I always liked him, but I just had that slight feeling that's like he is under the thumb, and I've got a newfound appreciation of him now.
And it's not like I'm not criticising Eileen or whoever plays her. Sue Cleaver, because I just think it wasn't the right fit. Those two didn't work together.
They were brought in, and very quickly George was like, oh, he's going to be paired up with Eileen, and that's that.
And it was an investment that they couldn't back out of, because without Eileen, really, George didn't feel like he had anyone to hang around with, so they had to keep them together. But now it's the proof is in the pudding.
The question is, will Coronation Street give George and Christina a story of their own this year? Because they're obviously on the fringes of the Todd and Theo coercive control. Will they give them a story? I don't know, because they're of an age where main stories, characters at that age don't get them. Well,
Yasmin and Jeff had a massive story.
I suppose so, but it was a rarity. It's much more.
I know what you're saying, but I do think Coronation Street is definitely. But it's Carla and Lisa are a similar age.
Yeah, maybe it may be. Okay then, so I just don't want them to get a story and it be an issue story, but then it can't be a big running one, can it? I don't know.
It's sad
that I'm in a world that I can't think of a big idea for a story that it doesn't involve issues. Although I suppose the Lisa and Carla one wasn't so much.
I think my worry would be that it would be Christina dabbling back into con artistry, and I wouldn't enjoy that.
No, I don't want anything that's going to make me not like Christina. I go, oh, you tricked me. I thought that she turned a new leaf. I haven't got any proposals, especially off the top of my head without having thought about it beforehand, but I'd really like to make sure we get lots of them this year, especially if you're not going to show a lot of Sally and Tim. I've got a proposal. Oh yeah, they get married. Hey, why not? Maybe. Is that? I mean, it's kind of a story, because we got Dev and Bernie's wedding this year, didn't we? I think a wedding on its own isn't a story. There'd have to be some kind of meat along that. Glenda. Oh, you're marrying him for his money. Yada yada yada. I think that's why I don't want it to be an issue storyline, because the last time they got anything too serious with George, it was George and Glenda at each other's throats over Archie's inheritance a couple of years ago, and that went down like a lead balloon. So they'd have to be so careful. It's got to be something light-hearted. But can Corrie afford to do a light-hearted storyline anymore? I don't know. What
about they get a big boat and stick it in their garden?
Done before.
Well, so is having an affair.
Right, what else have we got to go over? I mean, there's still a few stories that we've not really touched on, like the Debbie storyline. We've barely given any lip service to in this episode, and we're nearly 2 hours into it. We probably better be wrapping it up soon. But we went into this year knowing A, that Kevin was going to have cancer, B, that Carl was going to come back into the show, and C, that Debbie was going to be diagnosed with early onset dementia. And it's interesting because I think with the Kevin cancer one, we were like, oh, why are they doing this? This is a terrible move. We're sick of cancer storylines. And I will say that I'm kind of glad that my lasting impression of the Websters this year isn't, oh, they spent all this time being miserable about Kevin's cancer. I don't think they kind of hand-waved it away quite as quickly as they did with Toya's ovarian cancer a few years ago, but it didn't dominate and depress and bring things down quite so much. I don't know, am I just forgetting it?
Kevin couldn't be more sad if he tried. There's nothing you can do to him. He's like impervious to tragedy because he constantly acts like it's the last day of the Titanic.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing you can... It's kind of admirable how unshakable his misery is.
But I don't think the cancer really made that much of a blip on my radar this year, luckily. Carl, I was very excited to have back. I think when we heard that they were casting Carl, it's like, oh, this is a character that we've heard about all these years, and finally he's going to be here on the show. Amazing.
That was very exciting.
But I've ended up just not liking him, and the whole affair with Abby... horrible move. Not that Kevin and Abby were the best and most, chemistry laden of couples, but it's just left a real sour taste in my mouth. And Abby, who had been one of my favourite characters, she's really had to struggle to keep in my good books this year.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, Carl, again, to me, is an antagonist. I enjoy his presence because it gives people something to get mad about. I know I say I like a villain, but I think it's just that kind of villain. Abby and Kevin never clicked for me, so I don't care that they broke up.
I think it's because I like and respect, for lack of a better word, and admire and what have you, Abby as a character, because she's always come across as, she does things wrong, but I think her heart's in the right place, and she's a bit of a hero sometimes, and all these positive traits that I've seen in Abby over the years, and I know she's flawed, and I know she's fallen off the wagon in various ways before. I think that this was...
a bridge too far.
It was a bridge too far, and I know it's like, well, she didn't actually sleep with Carl until she'd found out that Kevin had lied about not having cancer, and... But it felt like it was coming for ages, didn't it? Those two having an affair. I'm glad it was over by the end of the year. But
I just found it really fascinating because she didn't realise how quickly the wheels came off of that. But Carl, right away, was not into it. As soon as he realised Alfie was part of the equation, he was not up for it at all.
And just horrible.
I mean, for me, the biggest downside of the story was that I don't really feel like Abby got to sort of grind Carl's face into the dirt yet.
Not yet, but his story's not over yet, is it?
She's laughed in his face and kind of ruined, took the money. But in the, as it shook out, it was all forgiven in an episode, so it doesn't.
And she didn't even get to spend much of it on herself either. She could donate
give
it
to
charity,
bloody hospice.
I think.
What are they going to do with it?
I think the high point for the Websters this year, because it really has been just a sea of misery, hasn't it? Cancer, affairs, blackmail, money stealing, fraud. Yeah, exactly. But the
MOTs,
the Debbie stuff,
no one likes
as
MOT.
much as nobody wanted it, has probably been my favourite element of the Webster story this year. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
nobody wanted Debbie, you know, at the beginning of this year, we were having it wasn't our petition, but there was the petition of Save Debbie Webster, change your mind about it, nobody wants this story. I think pretty much it's gone the way that we expected, as in, we don't want that to happen. It's very unfortunate, because we knew Sue Devaney was going to do a good job with it, and she did. And it's no surprise that a lot of some of our favourite scenes of the year were Debbie scenes, because she's been, you know, we said that she's been in the show we're back again in the show for 5-6 years or so now, but it felt like she was never in it. So always low down on the character appearance table, and this year she was right up there near the top, and joyously so, because she is proper old school Corrie camp. Must be so much fun to write for. Sue Devaney, little bubbly effervescent volcano of camp and silliness and sunshine. And we've got to enjoy a lot of that, because Debbie hasn't declined so much mentally yet. She's a different person. She wouldn't have had
this number of appearances.
No.
They had the chance, and they, you know, she's got to be in a story. And, like, you know, I've likened it many times to the idea of fleeting beauty and the melancholy and enjoying something all the more because you know it's temporary.
She's had lots of great scenes this year, and a good range of scenes, a bit like David can do, because we had, you know, going to the doctors, heartbreaking. The diagnosis, same. The scene where she was sitting outside the hospital and the woman with later stage dementia coming and really putting the frighteners on and thinking, God, that's going to be me one day. So you've had all of that. You've had a blackout. You've had, you know, the drama where she sees Carl and Abby together, and then she fainted, didn't she? And then she forgot about it.
Or when Carl found her on the floor and just ignored her because it was inconvenient.
Yes. So we've had all that. But on the other hand, we've had Debbie and Abby painting funny little Nomi Kev together. We've had the Weatherfield businesswoman speech. We've had Debbie in the trolley being wheeled around and crashing into a police car. We've had just bursting in like at the drag night or whatever and doing that hello guys. We've had so many funny little bits of dialogue that have been oh so Debbie that nobody else quite I think could have carried off. We've had little banters, not that there's been many, but with her and Raphael at the hotel. It's been so wonderful to have Debbie at the heart of the show in 2025. And I think probably by this time next year, will it be a little bit too much into the bittersweet and she'll have...
I think she's definitely probably my favourite character of 2025.
Yeah, she's my favourite character of the moment. She's one of the characters that you get this rare kind of character that if they're in a scene, it's just better. Elevate everything around it. Yeah, we're not talking about the wedding particularly because that was 2026, but what a banging start to the year that was.
Yeah.
So
I mean, also what a responsibility for Coronation Street to try and tell the story of Debbie in a way that supports the plot lines they want to have, but also is true to the experience of people who have vascular dementia. It's so tricky. It's such a fine line. I don't think we've heard from people who've said this is something that my family is going through, but I haven't heard anybody say, I think that it's reflecting my experience or this feels disrespectful.
No.
So as it progresses, I'm really interested to see whether people think that it is towing the line of being a true and
I'd like to think that Corrie
good reflection,
will do
like
a good
the
job,
MND. I think
the MND, yeah.
But again, there's nothing in my experience for me to say one way or the other with the MND storyline.
No, but then last week when I was speaking to Dan Brocklebank and he said there wasn't a single thing in that story related to the MND, and he's got his personal experience with it. There was nothing there that made me think, no, this isn't right.
Yeah.
So I would hope that they will do it right with Coronation Street, but it's going to be absolutely heartbreaking.
It's funny because I don't feel that they extend the same level of attention to the cancer storylines. It's like they went, well, Alma was great. We did it once. We get a free pass from now on to use this to drive narratives that aren't about cancer. Like, honestly, Toya belting up to go gallivanting around in a car with Nick the day after she had her ovaries whipped out was utterly ridiculous.
I know. You really stuck with you, hasn't it? After a year and a half later. Right, look, let's just bash through some final bits of the year. Is there any storylines or characters we've not touched on too much? We haven't said a whole lot about the Todd and Theo storyline, but we briefly touched on it. And I
feel like there are some stories that have been so spoken about already by us and everybody else that it doesn't feel like there's any ground to cover that's new.
I think they're doing a good job with it. I thought that Danielle was quite fun, and I do kind of feel sorry for her in a way. I didn't really enjoy the Noah side of that storyline. But...
Danielle is like the Curtis of the story, where I feel as though if we could speak to her, all of our questions would be answered, because the way that Theo treats Todd is clearly not the way that he was treating Danielle.
But it was the same way that he was treating Owen, who we met at the Canal Street scene, which was another highlight of the year.
Sorry, yeah. How much of his behaviour could we learn more about from her? I don't know.
We had I'm going to say a bit of a flub storyline for me was Tyrone in the wheelchair. And I know it was linked to the Webster storyline because it was Carl, but that to me felt like it was hey, look at me, here's an issue storyline. Isn't life difficult for people in wheelchairs? And against representation, I know it's important, but it didn't...
It feels like they haven't given it enough time. Like,
no, but I don't know what more they could do either. I wasn't begging for more.
Not that I feel like we necessarily needed it after Paul, because Paul had a physical decline that meant he was relying on people. But, you know, there are things that Tyrone needs his family to do that they never had to do before. Like, he couldn't put his own socks on. And we got a scene where somebody was putting his socks on, but it didn't... I know... I just feel like there's room for you to experience the same things the characters do. And I don't feel like I've experienced what Tyrone's experiencing. The same with Asha. I don't feel like I got inside her head to hear what... And there have been very brief mentions that, you know, we're straying into 2026 again, but her talking about wanting to come off her meds because she doesn't feel like herself. That's a really important part of people who are recovering from a mental health crisis or have depression. People don't really talk about the effect that this medication can have sometimes and how dangerous it is to stop taking it. It just got mentioned in a throwaway comment, like, I don't want to take this anymore.
You're right, but I don't know how interesting that would be to watch. But I think that they just didn't want to commit enough time to Asha and that lot this year. Amy, what on earth? Why are they not using Amy at the moment? Because Elma Vaney is wonderful. So is Tanisha. It's just bizarre how little they want to use them at the moment. But hey, maybe 2026 is going to be more of that. I think that, some of these stories where I felt like I was being lectured to, as before, didn't work quite so well with me. The story with Dee Dee's birth, it was kind of powerful when it happened, but what happened in the end, she's like, I'm going to sue the pants off this hospital. Oh no, I'm just going to work with them, but we won't see any of that. I kind of enjoyed the beginnings of the co-parenting storyline with James, if only because of I want to get my daughter christened while you're not going to, because they don't tend to touch on that kind of religious story too much.
It would have been really interesting.
They brushed past it in a couple of days.
It would have been really interesting to have seen them co-parent and have this conflict, and the conflict between a gay atheist man and a religious straight woman. Would have been fascinating.
They dabbled, didn't they? But it's like they didn't want to commit to it, so that storyline hasn't really left much of an impression on me. I feel like sometimes they don't want controversy, but they do want to do issues, and I feel as though you wade into controversy without even meaning to. So you might as well go head on. Yeah. Platts. I would say that the second half of the year was stronger than the first. As we've talked about the fire being a bit of a letdown. The chase from the invisible gangsters as well. David trying to get himself run over. It all didn't really completely work with me. But once they switched to Shona's pregnancy, I really appreciated this year all the lovely little scenes of them just snuggling up on the sofa. Those two have got such brilliant chemistry together. Even like, you know, just this week when they were doing the touch wood and knocking themselves on the head and knocking each other on the head.
They work so well together.
They work really, really well together. And we knew that there was going to be something tragic happening with the baby. But even that, they've come out and it doesn't feel like a hopeless situation, does it? So, no,
it doesn't feel...
I think that they've had a real strong end to the year. So it's a shame we've not seen very much of Audrey. I think she's just been locked in a new annex. New set, haven't we, for the Pats this year?
We haven't seen Audrey's annex either.
No, Audrey.
I'd love to see what that would look like.
Barely seen anything of Audrey this year.
Well,
Ken,
it's understandable.
Yeah, the Ken storyline kind of finished off early in 2025, didn't it?
It's so... I love how Cassie has besmirched herself with so many fans of the show who won't...
She's really not liked, is she, online?
And again, it's funny because this is a story that's supposed to be a silly, campy story about...
You're right, this is just like Becky.
Yeah, where it's like, no, this isn't serious. This is just wacky shenanigans. She's just poisoning him for a laugh. But
Yeah,
really,
funny,
they could have had a whole story about elder abuse and carers and, you know, the dark side of like who is really... Do you trust and like and also like what is it? I've forgotten the name. It's not Munchausen's. It's not factitious disorder imposed upon another. But there's some kind of like malingering or some kind of like thing that Cassie was going through where she was inflicting this onto Ken, and that's a real thing that people do.
I love
and it just was like. Oh, she just bought an air fryer for herself.
I loved the moment when Ken pretended to be asleep and then opened his eyes and like, I've got her. And then when he had a go at Cassie at the table and like, you're trying to drug me, and he swapped the mugs around. That was fun. I've loved some of the Tracy and Cassie squabbles, although it felt like it's kind of been a bit rinse and repeat and nothing happened in the end. And it didn't lead to anything. I thought people thought that Tracy was going to go out in Corridale, but she didn't.
You've got Tracy and Cassie sniping, and you've got Maggie and Eva. And I just don't think they're as witty as I think the writing has been for feuds in the past. I think if I could get them to work on one thing, it would be getting the wittiness back into some of these.
I would like to see more of the genuinely funny and sharp.
It's just like
and
tiresome.
Still caring sometimes side of Maggie.
It's just tiresome and what's the word? It drags you down to just have them being mean with no redeeming qualities at all. Like when people are sniping and witty, it's enjoyable. But with Eva and Maggie and Cassie and Tracy are a bit better, I think. But even them, I feel like some of the insults have just not been that imaginative or fun.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And it's funny though, because I was just going to say, like, Toya's cancer really stuck in my craw and I'll never get over that. But I don't care about Cassie and Ken. But I can see that if you had an experience or it felt closer to you, that this would really upset you and you wouldn't get over it and you keep bringing it up. So it's all about what you bring to the show as well as what the show shows you.
Yeah, and Corrie knows that you can't please everyone.
Yeah, they can't predict what's going to trigger people or upset people.
Yeah.
They can't not do something because it might
upset a person, otherwise they wouldn't do anything.
They wouldn't be able to do anything.
Yeah. So overall, I'm going to say it was an okay year. Sometimes things look
we
better.
We say that every year.
They do. I mean, there haven't been many years for a while. We go, I tell you what, that was a banger of a year. But I think looking back on it, sometimes the dry spells can seem not so bad. I know that there were periods when I was like, this is a bit of a slog at the moment. Equally, there were periods that I thought were brilliant. January 25, with Tracy and Leanne getting up to mischief, for example. That was a great load of fun. But yeah, it's been okay. There's been bits I've enjoyed, bits that I haven't. I don't think it's as bad as some of the online discourse would lead you to believe, in my opinion. But I totally respect the opinions of people who said, no, this is getting worse and worse. I get where you're coming from. It's not like I'm saying I don't understand at all why you're saying that. I do. I get why you say you're not enjoying Maggie and you want her gone. I get why you're saying you don't like Theo and Todd. I think there's been enough that's kept me interested. But there's definitely been some decisions made, like the Carl and Abby affair, for example, where I've gone, oh no, that's just not been quite right there. So I'm not going to score it. But if I did, I'd probably say 3.
Why did you score it anyway?
Maybe that's it. I don't know. Are you kind of along the same lines?
I'd give it 3.5 if we're going to score it, because I think they took some risks.
Okay.
And I think some of them didn't pan out, and some of them did, and that's why they're risks.
Yeah.
But somebody else would have said,
risks,
something else.
Was still constrained by the financial problems and changing soap audience and changing nature of soap and TV in general.
You know what though? You look back on some of the biographies and histories, contemporary writings from people. I'm starting to sound like a historian, but the narrative about Coronation Street has been from almost since day one, apart from when they got renewed past 10 episodes, a constant struggle against being cancelled and having it be the end. And it's been the same, and it's never changed. There's always a new challenge. There's always something different. You can't rely on the old ways, because not only are you making a show in a constantly evolving landscape of media, but you're making a show for people that are being born. New generations of people are watching, and you've got to tell stories that are relevant to a generation of people that don't even watch television.
Yeah.
So Coronation Street continuing in spite of all of that, and still thriving, in my opinion, and coming up with unique and interesting ways of telling stories that feel truthful and meaningful to people, is astonishing, and it should be celebrated. And the fact that we all care that much about it, that we argue online and we get mad at each other, or we have differing opinions, I think it just proves that soap as a medium is really powerful, and Coronation Street is the original and, in my opinion, best.
Nicely put, very nicely put. And we have seen a bit of Emma down there, haven't we? So we should know. We usually end these reviews of the year by just having a quick whiz down of podcast highlights over the last 12 months. We are running a bit later than I thought we would with this. We won't go too long on it, but I do want to give a big shout out and a well done to Gemma for Soap Week. I think that was the big thing for Conversation Street in 2025, International Soap Week. Gemma's little project that she's had in her mind for many years that actually came to fruition. We raised we raised money for Dementia UK with our Walk for Webster as part of it. We got some of the other podcasts and journalists kind of tweeting about soapy things in that first week of July, and the fans exactly.
Really appreciate everyone's support.
So I think that was a real highlight for us this year. I think you did a banging job, Gemma, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you got in store, because I'm sure you're already starting to plan.
You're really needing me about this.
Week.
Okay.
What else has been a good?
Well, we've got some new acquisitions. We've got a gravestone.
Oh my gosh!
And a robot.
Still can't believe that we actually went up to Liverpool to rescue Stan Ogden's gravestone from somebody's garden.
And it's in a really nice spot now. I'm happy with where it is.
Yes, under a bush in our garden, isn't it?
It's very prominent, and it's on a nice concrete base. Yeah. So it's very sturdy.
That was like, you would, if you'd have told us like 12 months ago, guess what you'll have at the end of the year. Like, I would never have believed you with that. And Summer's robot, of course, who that was like a list of unobtainable. Wouldn't that be brilliant for us? Would never happen, kind of thing. So that was wonderful.
Who knows what the next year will bring?
Yeah.
I mean, we also went on the Armadale Village tour.
Oh yeah, that was good, wasn't it?
That was really fun.
And that was nice to branch out.
Helped us with Corrie as well, and also being able to talk to Dingle All the Way as well.
Yeah, I really did appreciate. I like that. We had a few other trips up north, didn't we? Like, obviously, we had this audience with Coronation Street that we went to in London and Manchester. We didn't do too many. We had
the listener meetup.
Yeah, that was fun, wasn't it?
That was so fantastic. I'm so really glad that we did that, and thank you everybody that came. I was so bowled over by people meeting everybody. It felt like meeting a bunch of old friends. And
that was lovely.
So lovely.
Because we had about two, didn't we? Because there was the Walk for Webster, and then there was the other one with the audience.
I did step out of my comfort zone this year, because normally
you'd never. I remember you saying, "I never want to do that. Never." I'm too scared.
Normally what happens is we'll go somewhere that's Coronation Street related, and you will get recognised, and I will just walk off.
Yeah.
Because they don't know who I am normally. And so I've never I think we've spoken to a couple of people, you know, who knew who we were one by one, but this was the first time with a group of people who knew who I was, and I wouldn't say that I relished the prospect, but I did enjoy it, and I think everyone was so nice to me. So I would like to thank everybody for their kindness and generosity in spending time with us and helping us to raise money, and also just to enjoy our time before the audience.
Yeah, that was lovely. That was a real highlight of the year for me.
Yeah.
Thinking of other like crazy, can't believe we did that things. I think going to France to visit Lisa's Dream Cottage, which appeared on screen for about 3 seconds in one episode, has got to be out there, hasn't it?
I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
I just loved the reaction that we got online as well when we posted that we'd done it.
What were you doing this for?
We were on holiday in France at the time. But we still had to make quite a detour to go and find this.
We did catch a ferry on purpose, a 6-hour ferry. And thank
so that
you
we
so
could
much.
stand outside this place that Lisa wanted to live in. It was hilarious.
Yeah, thank you so much to the listeners that put us up in France.
Yes, thank you very much.
Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa and Michael.
That's it.
That was.
They were very generous for
so
helping us
funny.
to make Lisa's Dream Cottage come true.
That and the gravestone are probably some of the nuttiest things we've ever done on
you
the
know,
podcast.
I don't think we get credit or notoriety for this, because honestly, if I was a tabloid, I'd put a story about this so that people could rip into
Coronation
us.
Street fans.
Imagine the comments on The Sun about this.
I know. Thank you very much, Sun journalists, for not reporting on this.
Well, maybe I'm trying to manifest something.
I always like to have a little think about the contact with the cast that we've had during the year as well, because it is lovely how some of the cast are super supportive with the podcast, whether it's from speaking to us on the press day that we went to or doing interviews with us. A lot of them are kind of more exit interviews this year, I feel. I want to maybe try to get a few current cast members this year. Maybe that needs to be a little project of mine, although they are harder to get hold of, obviously. But I mean, Thelma Barlow this year, Gemma. Say no more. Like,
I know. What?
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely fabulous.
That's... You would never even appear on a list of most wanted, would it? Because you'd never expect that would actually happen. So what's the point of putting it on a list? But when we were contacted by Thelma, like, can I come and talk about Coronation Street and my new short film? Absolutely
treat.
What
Treasure.
A real treat. And we obviously we had the interview with Sally Ann Matthews again, who's been always a support to the podcast for the past decade or so, and it was lovely that people enjoyed watching that interview, because that
exclusive,
got a good number. Yeah, the exclusive exit interview, exactly. That got a really decent number of views for us as well. But being able to talk to people like Jane Tunnicliffe and Becky Hindley, who are names from the past that I think were characters that people enjoyed. And yeah, hearing about their time on Corrie was super as well.
And we've also had sort of directors.
Bill Ward, you said, yeah.
Yeah, and Mickey Jones.
Yeah, Mickey Jones, Jordan Hogg as directors. Yeah. That was lovely. Thank you everybody who came on the podcast this year to be interviewed. That was absolutely wonderful. And of course, lovely listener Al Parr, who got his behind the scenes tour at Coronation Street back last spring. So that was really interesting.
And we got to go on a walk with Julia Goulding.
Oh yeah, she did take us on a virtual walk, didn't she? As she interviewed.
She's so great. I love her so much.
Yeah. Got a new logo for the podcast this year.
Yeah.
Finally decided to design a new one. I think I still like it. Still looks a bit like a cog, but I don't mean it to. But I'm sticking with it now. And I'm also glad. And we're only just dipping our toe into this at the moment. But getting the actors to record little things that we can put at the beginning of some episodes saying you're listening to Conversation Street. We keep forgetting. I did forget to ask Dan Brocklebank to record one last week. But we've still got a few that we've saved that we haven't used yet.
I know, it's fun.
That's another project for this year. It's not really much, is it? It's a low-key project, trying to get some of the actors to record.
Variety of goals.
Yeah, for sure. We will still get up to Manchester this year a few times. We've already got plans for a few things this year, which will involve getting out and about. So I hope that you will be there with us to listen to us and enjoy us and live vicariously through us, as lots of the fans have always told us through the years that that's what they enjoy about the podcast.
Yeah, we really appreciate your support. Thank you so much, everybody. Don't forget to join our Patreon so you can help fund some of these madcap adventures.
And gravestones.
Yeah, I mean, we really do rely on the Patreon to help us get to Manchester, and obviously the more the show grows, the more things we have to buy. Like, we pay for hosting and storage and with microphones and. We need we need new equipment. I think we're going to need to buy.
Do you reckon is that going to be a project for this year as well?
Yeah, we've got so many
branching
projects.
out technologically.
We really do need to do a bit more of that. But you guys help us.
It.
Really, honestly, it costs so much money to go because I'm quite elaborate with my requirements.
You're such a diva.
Well, I do like to have a nice dinner. That's my treat. To have a nice dinner.
With all the extra work that you have to do when we go to these places. Well, there you go. Patreon.com/Conversation Street. Should you wish to join up, but please don't feel pressure to do so.
But there are so many great episodes that you can listen to once you sign up. We've got some fantastic stuff on there, and we're always listening out for some suggestions for new top 5s you'd like us to listen to. We finished our car eliminator as well, didn't we?
Oh yes, that was another 2025 thing. That was another Gemma project.
I've got nothing in my head for next year, so you got to do it yourself.
I know, but I always at the beginning of the year think, oh, what if we don't do anything big this year? What if this is a lull year?
I know.
And then things just crop up. So we got some plans, but not many. We're just kind of relying on things dropping in our laps a little bit, which is the best way sometimes.
We're going to have to come up with a mission statement and a vision statement.
Yeah, Gemma's been learning all about digital advertising recently.
Marketing.
Sorry, I don't even know the lingo. Right, anyway, we must go. We've been waffling on for best part of 2.5 hours now. That was our thoughts on 2025. It is a good job we had dinner first.
I think if we'd not had dinner, we would have been quicker.
Probably. If you would like to share your overall thoughts on 2025, send us an email to Conversation Street.
Thoughts.
Exactly. conversationstreet@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment on this on the podcast or the YouTube, wherever you're listening to this. Tell us what you thought overall. Were we too generous? Were we spot on? Were we too critical because you absolutely loved it? Hello, Kate Brooks. And let us know. And what are your thoughts and hopes for 2026 as well? I would love to hear about that too. But we need to go now. We're not even able to watch The Traitors before bed tonight, Gemma. You just remembered that there's
Twitter.
One, possibly not. So don't send us Traitors spoilers. Although I don't even know when I'm publishing this. I'm publishing it tonight, maybe. But it is quite late and it's a school night. So I'm going to stop talking now. Thank you for listening.
Done that
goodbye. Gemma says goodbye. So does Abby. Goodbye.